Our story begins with Bel Cranel, our protagonist, who lives in the city of Aurario, a city of adventurers, which is in a world of descended gods who live among humans, making them their familia so they can be blessed by the gods. With the blessing of the gods, they fight against monsters, and here we see Bel, who is being pursued by a Minotaur, escaping as best as he can. Just as he is about to be attacked, he is saved by a mysterious swordswoman who dispatches the Minotaur in seconds. In the city, Bel, covered in the monster's blood, rushes to ask Aina Tull, a worker at the Adventurers Guild, about the mysterious swordswoman. Before she can answer, she starts scolding him for entering the dungeon alone and on floors much higher than his level. We learn that the swordswoman is named Aze Wallenstein, who is a level 5 adventurer, and we also learn that Bel is only a level 1 adventurer. Bel wants to know more about Aze since he seems to have fallen in love with her, but Aina reminds him that it will be difficult since they are in different leagues and serve different gods. However, Aina encourages him by mentioning that girls like strong guys who can protect them, so Bel won't give up easily on Aze. Upon leaving, he exchanges the magic stones that come from monsters for money, which is not much since Bel can only fight against weak monsters on beginner floors. Back at home, Bel remembers the words of his grandfather, who always told him that an adventurer should choose his girl in a dungeon. He must be strong to save her from monsters, and that's how they will get to know each other. But in Bel's case, this was reversed, yet he will do his best. At Bel's house, we find the goddess who serves Bel, Hestia, who is very concerned about our protagonist and understands that they don't have much money and are really poor. We also see that Bel is Hestia's only familia. At night, they enjoy a simple dinner of salted fries, and we notice that the goddess has feelings for Bel. The gods review the abilities of their servants through a ritual, which Bel and Hestia have. During the ritual, Hestia learns about Bel's experience with Aze, but she becomes jealous even though Bel doesn't realize this. After the ritual, Bel awakens an ability called Realis Phrase, which makes him stronger as long as the feelings he has are maintained, but Hestia hides it from him because she is jealous that it awakened because of a girl, and if Bel finds out, his ability might be affected. The next day, Bel heads to the dungeon, but he is stopped by a girl dressed as a waitress named Sir Flover, who returns a magic stone that he dropped while running through the city. Bel says it's not necessary, but she insists, and in exchange for lunch, she asks him to have dinner where she works, and Bel ends up accepting. Bel in the dungeon begins to fight several monsters that keep appearing. He thinks about retreating since there are too many, but he remembers that if he wants to get to know Aze and become like her, he must become stronger. At home, after the evaluation ritual, Bel is surprised by his suddenly increased stats. Hestia is angry and jealous because his ability awakened just because of Aze's appearance, so she decides to leave the house angrily, leaving Bel alone. Bel remembers Seer's invitation and goes to the city to go to the restaurant, which also acts as a bar. In the bar, we see that it is a meeting point for adventurers. Seer welcomes him, and Bel ends up being served with the most expensive items on the menu, which overwhelms him because that is a lot of money for food. After a while, a group of people arrives who reserved a table. Them Aze, and we find out that it is the Loki Familia, which from the name we know is a famous god. During dinner, Beat from Aze's group mentions what happened before with Bel, how he ended up covered in blood and running scared, mocking the situation. We also notice that Bel seems to have been traumatized since that day. Riverius stops him because it's their fault that a Minotaur escaped from their hands, but Beat keeps insisting that Bel is a cowardly weakling. Tired of hearing what they say, Bel runs away from the place, ashamed of being so weak and of the other things they said. Determined, Bel enters the dungeon to fight with his life on the line to become stronger. In the morning, Hestia waits for Bel, and he arrives all wounded from the dungeon, realizing his new goal, to become stronger. Hestia performs the ritual on Bel, and she ends up amazed because his development is advancing by leaps and bounds, and his ability turns out to be unique and unknown. Remembering Bel's wishes to become stronger, Hestia decides to support him with everything she has. After the ritual, Hestia explains to him that his development is incredible and that he is very talented, so he will become stronger in a matter of time, so he should not be careless in the things he does in the dungeon. In the city, Bel returns to the restaurant to apologize for yesterday's trouble and to pay for the food, which the owner, Mia Grand, dismisses the trouble since he had the conscience to come back. She gives him advice on surviving in the dungeon as the rookie he is, since it seems that most people in the restaurant are adventurers. In the end, she and Sir encourage him to do well in the dungeon. Hestia leaves home for a few days and attends a meeting of gods organized by Ganesha, where we see Freya, who starts a conversation with Hestia, and Loki, who seems to have constant disagreements with Hestia. After a scandal between them, Hephaestus appears, who seems to have a close relationship with Hestia. Hestia wants to talk to her to ask her to make a weapon for Bel. In the dungeon, people are preparing to organize an event called Monsterphilia. Bel is very curious about the weapons that adventurers carry, and we meet another god named Mych, who is not at the banquet because he prefers to be with his family. He also gives Bel some potions, showing that he is a kind and benevolent god. Hestia is still pleading with Hephaestus from the party to make a weapon for Belle, but she refuses because Hephaestus' equipment is very expensive. Hestia ends up showing her feelings for Belle and her responsibilities as a goddess, which she cannot fulfill, so she will beg as much as she can to be able to help him. Hephaestus understands the situation and agrees only for Belle, but she will still have to pay for the weapon even if it takes years. Hestia is surprised because Hephaestus herself is going to make the weapon, and since it is a weapon on credit, it will be a matter only between her and Hestia, but Hestia will have to help her create the weapon. In the city, Belle receives a request from a waitress at the restaurant named Anya, who asks him to take the wallet to Sir. We also meet Ryu Lion, another waitress, who asks him to take it to the Monsterphilia festival happening in the center, which Belle accepts. Monsterphilia is an annual festival in Aurario organized by the Ganesha family, where adventurers tame monsters in front of the public. At Hephaestus' workshop, the weapon is ready, and Hestia hurries to deliver it to Belle. Near the festival, Loki is talking to Freya about the interest she has gained in a servant, who seems to be Belle. At the festival, Belle meets Hestia, but instead of giving him the weapon first, she drags him to a date, which they both end up enjoying. Inside the Colosseum, Freya puts the Ganesha family's servants, who are in charge of caring for the monsters, to sleep and releases several monsters, claiming that their progress is too slow. Belle and Hestia are outside enjoying the festival, but a monster controlled by Freya appears, causing it to chase Hestia. Belle protects her and they both flee to avoid being caught. The monster is very fast and catches up to them, but Belle petrifies because he still has trauma from the Minotaur incident. However, he overcomes that fear. Because he can't let a girl be harmed in front of him, Belle begins his attack, but his weapon breaks and he ends up being thrown. But a city lamp falls just then, and Belle uses it to blind the monster and escape with Hestia. They both arrive at an open place, so they can't run anymore. Belle decides to lock Hestia in a safe place and give her time to escape. Before fighting the monster, we learn about Belle's past, where his grandfather died fighting in the mountains, and because of that, Belle decided to become an adventurer. In Aurario, no one accepted him because he seemed too weak. The only one who decided to reach out to him was Hestia, and that's why he will save her at any cost. In the Colosseum, the Ganesha family already knows about the monster escape and decides to do everything possible to protect the people, even asking for help from other families. The guild, at the request of the Ganesha family, looks for families to ask for help. Ina, as part of the guild, meets Aiz, who is with Loki. Aiz, upon hearing the situation, hunts down the monsters one by one. The fight begins, and all Belle can do is dodge, but it tires him out too much. Also, Hestia starts looking for a way to reach Belle. Belle can't do anything but run, but he is already receiving many blows, so he decides to accept his death since Hestia is safe. But Hestia manages to escape and finds Belle, and the monster attacks her, but Belle manages to save her. She then wants to give the weapon to Belle, which is a special weapon with ancient writing put on it by Hestia. But just then, the monster appears again, so they escape once more. Being safe thanks to a hidden door, Belle is very pessimistic about the situation since he couldn't do anything because of how weak he is and with his broken weapon. But Hestia cheers him up and gives him the weapon, which is baptized as Hestia's dagger. Hestia performs the ritual with the dagger in Belle's hands so that the dagger awakens along with Belle, and they become stronger together. But this surprises Hestia, because the dagger is so perfect for Belle that its power increases a lot. The monster finds them, and Belle is scared. So Hestia encourages him again, and with the right words he decides to attack again. Surprised by the power of the dagger and feeling that it is alive, Belle attacks with all of his might, destroying the monster's defenses and finally killing it. Everyone praises him for his great deed, but in a moment of celebration, Hestia faints, which scares Belle. In a restaurant, Belle waits for the goddess to recover, as she only fainted due to tiredness. He thanks Sir for letting him use the room and for the attention, but she starts teasing him about how heroic he looked in the fight with the monster. In the room, Hestia has already woken up and begins to answer Belle's questions, explaining about his weapon and how special it is as it was created by Hephaestus herself, making Belle very happy for the effort Hestia made for him. At the guild, Belle asks to be allowed to enter level 7 of the dungeon since his skills have improved, but Ina doesn't believe him. Belle ends up showing his skills and manages to pass, but with the condition that he has better equipment, so Ina asks him to go out and shop. On shopping day, Ina looks gorgeous and starts teasing Belle to flatter her, but they are there for the armor. So they both go to look for equipment at Hephaestus' store, which is very expensive. Belle is amazed by the prices of the weapons, but they both run into Hestia, who is working there to pay off the debt for Belle's dagger. Hestia starts marking her territory with Ina, but Ina clarifies that it is only a business relationship. Ina guides Belle to another floor where they have cheaper products from novice blacksmiths. Belle is amazed to see so many good-priced items and goes deeper, finding a full-body light armor that seems to be made for him, created by a blacksmith named Welf Krazo. Belle decides to buy it, which amuses Ina as she expected that from Belle. She also advises him to get a support to enter the dungeon. At the end of the day, Ina gives him another piece of equipment, but Belle refuses. Ina insists, as it is for his own good and to safeguard his life in the dungeon. Belle, blushing and happy, accepts the gift. Returning home, Belle bumps into a girl who is being chased, but he instinctively defends her. The other guy thinks he's with her, but Ryu appears to stop the fight, revealing that she is not just a waitress. The guy ends up running away and Belle thanks Ryu for her help, but the girl he defended seems to have fled. The next morning, Belle is ready, using his new armor to go to the dungeon, where he notices many people with large backpacks, which are called supports. Just then, a small girl offers herself as support by contract for Belle. It's the same girl from yesterday. The girl, whose name is Liliruca, seems to be a good girl, and she convinces Belle to work together. Both in the dungeon now, they start farming, with Belle in battle and Lily collecting the drops. They both learn a bit more about each other, and we find out that Lily belongs to the Soma family. Lily starts to become more interested in Belle's dagger, but Belle is oblivious and doesn't notice any ill intentions, so he explains about the dagger to her. At the guild, Belle goes to exchange stones and tells Aina about his support. Aina is not sure about Lily, as her family seems to have problems with its members, but she brushes it off since Belle is the one who decides on his companions. She also notices that Belle's dagger is missing, so he thinks he dropped it, but in reality it was stolen by Lily, who tries to sell it but fails because the dagger has no power without Belle. At that moment, Ryu and Sir pass by and Ryu notices the dagger, taking it from Lily. Lily, feeling caught, escapes and by a twist of fate, bumps into Belle, who was looking for his dagger. Ryu ends up returning it to him, but they don't mention that it was stolen by Lily. In the end, Belle asks Lily again to enter the dungeon and Lily seems to accept. In the dungeon, Belle is now more careful with his dagger. After a hard day's work, they start dividing the earnings, which are a lot for just 2 adventurers. Belle gives half to Lily, surprising her as adventurers usually don't share equally with their supports. Belle, being a fair young man, thanks her for helping him in the dungeon, which makes Lily feel sorry for having robbed him before. At the guild, the members in the Soma family seem more and more desperate for money, which starts to worry Ina, as it would be bad if this affects Belle. At the tavern, Hestia is drowning her sorrows with Miech because she saw Belle going out with Lily, which makes her jealous. She ends up so drunk that the next day, Belle has to take care of her hangover, but she is still angry because he saw her with Lily. Belle doesn't notice the hints, but still decides to ask Hestia out as a way to thank her for everything she did for him. Hestia forgets everything and wants the date to be that same day, so she gets ready for it. She goes to the Divine Baths, where she meets Demeter, who learns about Hestia's date and warns all the goddesses, as Hestia seems to have been a woman without love affairs. On the date, Hestia looks beautiful, but just as they are about to leave, goddesses from all over arrive. Having followed her to find out who the man is who has captured her heart, they start teasing Belle, but Hestia grabs him and a chase ensues, lasting until nightfall, ruining the date. However, Belle looks on the bright side, appreciating the scenery of Aurario, and promises Hestia they will have another date, making her happy. Lily is punched and kicked by members of her family, who are very cruel to her. Adventurers generally consider supports like her as cannon fodder, but Lily is accustomed to dealing with such people. She believes that with Belle's dagger sold, she will be able to escape that miserable life. Back in the dungeon, Belle starts fighting ants and rabbits, which overwhelm him. However, Lily saves him with a magical weapon, realizing immediately the danger of being seen with such a valuable item, as adventurers would kill her to take the weapon for themselves. Belle is very grateful, and this demonstrates that he is not like those adventurers. While resting, Belle shares his food with Lily, and she asks for permission to have the day off tomorrow, as her family will have a meeting. Belle agrees without any issues. At the restaurant, Belle thanks Sir for the meals and mentions he has the day off, so he doesn't know what to do, asking Sir for advice. She tells him to read, so she lends him a magic book, similar to the one Freya had. Belle gets very excited as he wants to learn magic. At home, Belle starts reading the book, but enters a trance-like state, seemingly awakening his latent magical powers. Belle wakes up as Hestia has just arrived from work, and they proceed to perform the ritual as usual. However, this surprises Hestia, as Belle has developed magic along with the Firebolt ability, which is special as it does not require casting. This greatly delights and excites Belle, as he always wanted to use magic. Belle is so excited about his magic that he decides to sneak out at night to try it in the dungeon. He uses his magic for the first time, defeating an enemy with a single blow, thrilling him with the strength of his magic. However, he is unaware of the consequences of using magic consecutively, and ends up fainting. Luckily, he is found by Aze and Riveria, who were returning from fighting a floor boss that Aze defeated on her own. Aze recognizes Belle as the boy who saved her from the Minotaur, and she wants to repay him for before. Aze ends up taking care of him, giving him a pillow to rest his head on, but Belle wakes up and is so embarrassed to find himself in that situation with her that he ends up running away. At home, Belle is lamenting running away, but we forget about that, as the magic book Belle read was a grimoire, which are very special and expensive, and can only be read once. Hestia wants to get rid of the book to avoid problems, but Belle's conscience and honesty prevail. At the tavern, Belle laments losing the book, and the owner says it doesn't matter since the problem is done, blaming whoever forgot the book. But Belle thinks it's his fault, so the owner sends him to the dungeon so he doesn't worry. Ina, on the other hand, investigates the Soma family who sells alcohol. She meets Loki and Reveria, who do her the favor of getting alcohol from the Soma family by buying it for Loki, but in exchange for information. Loki explains that the Soma family does not respect their god, they only worship wine. Bell waits for Lily to go to the dungeon, but he notices from a distance that she is being harassed by someone. When he tries to approach to help her, he sees the guy who was chasing her before, mentioning that together they can steal all of Lily's money, to which he vehemently refuses. Lily realizes that Bell saw her with the other guy and asks Bell what they talked about, but he clarifies that they didn't talk much, prompting Lily to advance her plans with the dagger. We learn about Lily's past. She comes from the poor districts where her parents died in the dungeon trying to get money. She worked as a support from a young age and did what she could to survive, but she was always mistreated and exploited by adventurers. When she retired to live in peace and tranquility, the adventurers did not let her live that way, leaving her with no choice but to be a support and endure that kind of life. In Loki's mansion, Ina obtains more information about the Soma family. Due to the unique nature of their wine, which can only be sold to family members, it is very expensive to produce. This leads the family to steal, extort, and even murder for a sip of that wine. Back at Bell's house, he explains the situation with Lily to Hestia, expressing his desire to help her. However, Hestia advises him to be more cautious with adventurers and to stay away from trouble. Despite this, Bell, being kind-hearted, doesn't want to leave Lily alone. In the dungeon, they decide to go to higher levels based on Lily's recommendation, and she gives him a weapon that she claims is better for larger enemies. Bell stores his dagger in one of his pockets. As soon as they enter the 10th floor, monsters appear. Bell starts fighting a couple of them, but realizes too late that he is surrounded by bait for monsters. In the distance, Lily manages to get Bell's dagger, leaving him alone with the monsters. Lina, who was also at the dungeon entrance, wanted to talk to Bell about Lily, but he was busy with other things. She decides to ask for Aiza's help, who was about to enter the dungeon. Ina explains the situation to Aiz regarding Bell, also clarifying that Bell is very grateful to her and is just too shy to approach her. However, as they converse, they overhear about an ambush that will take place and Bell is mentioned, prompting Aiz to agree to go help him. Ina also goes to Hestia's house to talk about Lily, asking her to convince Bell to fire her. However, Hestia tells her that Bell has decided to save her and won't leave her alone. On the way back, Lily uses a strange magic that removes her ears and is ambushed by the guy who was chasing her. However, he is ambushed by his partners, who are members of the Soma family who always rob Lily. They attract the monsters towards them, causing one of them to die while escaping. The remaining ones steal everything from Lily and leave her to die. Lily begins to lament, thinking that karma is catching up with her for betraying Bell. However, Bell arrives to save her, using his magic to fight off all the monsters. With Lily safe, she starts to berate Bell, saying that he should have let her die for being a thief who always cheated him and nearly killed him, revealing everything she had done to him. Bell, however, is okay with it and will always save and help her, as she is just being herself and he doesn't want to lose her. Lily finally breaks down, tears streaming down her face, apologizing deeply to Bell. In the end, Bell thanks Ina for caring so much about him, but Ina says it's okay because he's okay. The next day, Bell goes to Lily to ask her to be his companion, to which Lily gladly accepts. Freya, on the other hand, seems to have plans for Bell, ordering Odor to make him stronger and help him overcome his trauma. Bell takes Lily home to introduce her to Hestia. Bell prepares tea, and the two women talk. Hestia confirms Lily's determination towards Bell and asks her to take care of him, as Bell is very kind and innocent, and she won't always be able to guide him. Additionally, Hestia marks her territory with Bell, but Lily is not intimidated and accepts to compete for Bell. Bell lets them talk and goes to the guild since Ina called him. At the guild, Ina is with Aiz, which makes him run away again, but Aiz stops him to talk. Aiz returns the armor that Ina gave him, which he dropped on the 10th floor when rescuing Lily, explaining that she was on the same floor. She also formally apologizes for the Minotaur incident, but Bell thinks otherwise, as she was the one who saved him, forming a friendship between them. About to leave, Aiz congratulates him on improving so quickly, but Bell doesn't know how to fight properly, so Aiz offers to train him. At dawn, the training with Bell begins, but Aiz doesn't know how to train others, so they stick to the basics, improving through combat. The training continues for several days, with Bell constantly improving thanks to Aiz's advice and their battles, astonishing Aiz with his progress. Bell starts to understand who Aiz is, further improving their relationship. Meanwhile, Otter is training a Minotaur in the dungeon on Freya's orders, making it stronger and more resistant to go against Bell. The adventurers who always robbed Lily end up releasing the Minotaur, which kills them and kills more adventurers on its way to Bell. In the dungeon, Lily and Bell start farming, but the enemies are too numerous. With Lily's help, they manage to defend themselves, although more enemies arrive. Thanks to Aiz's training, they overcome this situation. In the city after training, Bell and Aiz go for some food and coincidentally meet Hestia, who is tending the stall. She jumps at Bell, as she didn't know anything about the situation. After an explanation, Hestia accepts their training, but sets boundaries with Aiz. In the guild, Aiz becomes level 6, having defeated a level boss alone. This discourages Bell as catching up to her seems increasingly impossible. However, Bell doesn't realize his potential, always comparing himself to strong people. In the city, he's found by Sir, who asks him for a favor but essentially forces him to wash dishes. Ryu decides to help him and Bell accepts, as it helps him stop thinking about A's. While washing dishes, we learn that Ryu was an adventurer who ends up giving Bell advice on how to continue improving his strength. On the last day of training, Bell has advanced so much that he still doesn't realize how amazing he is. However, he gathers his strength to keep going and reach A's level. In the dungeon, the Loki Familia prepares for an excursion with the Hephaestus Familia to reach the 59th floor. Bell is already inside with Lily, but on the way, Bell feels that something is wrong, remembering the day the Minotaur appeared. Indeed, the Minotaur trained by Otter encounters them. Bell is still traumatized from the past and can't move, so Lily saves him from being attacked but ends up badly injured. Bell regains his composure and puts Lily out of harm's way, but the monster's attack shatters all of Bell's armor. During the Loki Familia's excursion, they encounter several injured people due to the Minotaur. Upon hearing that Bell is fighting, Ize rushes to help him. Bell can only dodge as the blows are very powerful, and just one could seriously injure him. He realizes he won't last long like this, so he decides to counterattack, allowing Lily to escape. Bell fights well, trusting in his speed, but he is critically injured due to a mistake. However, thanks to the equipment Aina gave him, it wasn't fatal. Ize appears to help him, but Bell doesn't want to be saved by her again. He doesn't want to experience the same as before. Bell wants to be stronger, so he gets up to fight, accepting that he must do this no matter the cost. Bell starts the attack, giving an amazing fight using everything he learned in the short time he's been an adventurer. The members of the Loki Familia consider helping, and Lily is with them, begging for them to help him, but they realize that Bell is putting up a worthy fight against the Minotaur, surprising them. Bell is using everything he has and with strategy manages to break the monster's hand, taking its sword and delivering critical blows, evening the odds. Both are tired, so the fight will be decided by an attack in which Bell uses a feint to bombard the Minotaur with magic from the inside through his dagger, which to everyone's surprise, defeats it. Bell faints standing due to physical and magical exhaustion, and the Loki Familia takes the opportunity to check his condition, realizing that all of his abilities are S rank. Bell is now level 2, astonishing many with his great progress. After the ritual, he obtains the skill Argonaut, the desire to be a hero, which is a perfect skill for Bell. Hestia teases him for wanting to be a hero. Hestia prepares to attend the gods' meeting, where names are chosen for adventurers who level up, exciting Bell as he will have a name. At the meeting, they meet the god Takemi Kazuchi, who seems to have a good relationship with Hestia, and he also names one of his familia members Yamato Mikoto. After the meeting, Hestia arrives home to give Bell his name, which is Little Rookie, lowering his expectations of having a cool name. Bell and Lily are at the restaurant for a party they planned, and they realize that everyone is watching them. Ryu and Sarah comment that Bell's achievement is incredible, so his popularity is increasing. While they dine, Ryu advises him to have more members in his team as higher levels are larger in number. While dining, some guys start trouble with Bell because he is becoming famous, trying to be inappropriate with Ryu and Bell. But Ryu teaches them a lesson, and the owner drives them away. Because Bell's armor is broken, he decides to look for new armor from the same blacksmith, but he doesn't find more from the same blacksmith, so he asks the cashier. But he's currently attending to someone else who happens to be the blacksmith Bell is looking for. We finally meet the blacksmith Welf Krazo, who has a chat with Bell, showing himself to be a good guy and asks to join his group, promising to make all the armor and weapons for Bell, which he accepts. In the dungeon, Bell has new armor and Lily meets Welf. Initially, they don't seem to get along, but Lily is astonished when she hears Welf's last name, as he comes from a family of noble blacksmiths who fell into disgrace. The story is cut short as monsters appear, starting the fight. Bell begins to notice his increase in power, boosting the others as well as the synergy within the group. After the fight, Welf notices Bell's hand glowing, but a gigantic monster appears, about to attack Lily, who is collecting the drops. Bell uses his magic, which is more powerful than before, killing the monster with a single blow. Back home, Hestia explains that this was his new skill, Argonaut, and talks about Welf, who seems to be a very talented blacksmith but doesn't use his talent for wealth or fame, indicating that he has a reason for it. At the dungeon entrance, Lily will be absent, so will only be Bell and Welf. Welf asks him to accompany him as it's time for him to pay for being in his team, so they go to his workshop for new equipment. In the workshop, Welf already knows about Hestia asking about him, to which Bell apologizes. He also mentions that the item that fell from the Minotaur Bell defeated will be useful for a weapon, so he gets to work. He explains why he doesn't create magic weapons, which are weapons that break, leaving you defenseless at any moment, weapons that waste human potential, stating that a weapon should always be with its owner. Finally, the weapon is made and named Ushiwakamaru. Thus, Welf and Bell officially become companions. Bell and the others finally venture into the intermediate floors, but not before saying goodbye to Hestia, who is very worried about him. At the dungeon entrance, the Takemikazuchi Familia, which we'll call Take, is also preparing to enter the dungeon. Both gods are worried, but they can only trust, although their conversation is interrupted by an earthquake, which are becoming frequent. Here we meet the god Hermes and his Familia member Asfi, with Hermes being very curious and intrigued by Bell due to his great development. Bell and the others prepare to enter level 13, getting equipment for that level and establishing their formation, exciting Bell as he finally has a group and they are advancing together. Inside the dungeon, they start well for their first time, but anything can happen in the dungeon. Bell and the others are starting to be overwhelmed by the monsters, and we see that the members of the Take family are running because one of their members was injured and the numbers are against them. Luca has the idea to pass by Bell and the others to escape. Mikoto refuses, but saving their comrade is paramount, so they do as Ilka orders, passing by them and leaving all the monsters following them, thus beginning a retreat for Bell's group. The group runs, but they are caught and surrounded by the number of monsters, leaving them no choice but to fight. However, there are so many monsters that they even appear from the ceiling, causing debris to fall on them, injuring and immobilizing Lily and Welf, leaving only Bell to defend the group. Several hours have passed and Hestia is worried, so she goes to the guild to ask if the kids have returned, but Ina doesn't know anything, so she requests a mission to search for Bell. At that moment, the Take family arrives with their members. The kids in the dungeon are injured but alive, thanks to the cloak that Lily recommended, which protects them from fire attacks. As they progress, they realize they have fallen to deeper floors due to the collapse, which are dangerous for their levels. The kids look for ways to go back up but find none, as the paths are unknown. Welf wants to stay behind because his leg is slowing them down, but Bell won't abandon him no matter what, so Lily has the crazy idea of going down a few more floors and going to a safe floor without monsters, which is floor 18. But there is a problem: the floor boss. Lily claims that it was already defeated by the Loki family on their expedition. Bell, as the leader, accepts the idea, putting everything into it, using the holes in the intermediate floors. At home, Hestia, Hephaestus, and Maich are gathered to listen to the Take family, who apologize for what they did to Bell's group, as that is despicable among adventurers. Hestia listens to them, so in exchange for forgiveness, they will have to accompany her on the rescue mission. However, the members are still insufficient, as the Hephaestus family is on an expedition with the Loki family. Just then, Hermes appears, offering his help by lending Asfi. They begin to plan the rescue, but Hermes and Hestia decide to go to the dungeon, even though it is forbidden for a god to enter. To ensure the safety of the gods, they ask for Rue's help. Before leaving, Hephaestus asks Hestia to deliver something along with a note to Welf. Bell and the others descend painfully through the floors, using the scent of animals as protection. However, as they advance, they are attacked, and Welf uses his magic called Will-O-Wisp, which uses the enemy's magic against them. Unfortunately, the scent runs out, and problems arise when several Minotaurs appear, forcing Bell to deal with them using all his power along with Argonaut, leaving him very tired. The rescue mission begins with Asfi and Rue in the lead, while the Take family will be around Hestia and Hermes. The mission progresses well thanks to Rue and Asfi, who practically take care of all the monsters. As they progress, they encounter a collapse, and there they find clues from Bell's group. Asfi deciphers the situation, concluding that they are heading to the safe zone on floor 18. Rue reinforces that theory, so everyone heads to floor 18. The group is very tired, and Lily and Welf faint, but enemies will soon appear if they don't move, so Bell decides to leave all unnecessary equipment behind and carry the others. Finally, they reach the boss floor, which was defeated by the Loki family's raid, but their appearance was before that, so Bell runs desperately, using his last strength with his companions on top, finally managing to reach the safe floor. Bell and the others are found by the Loki family, who treat them for their recovery. Bell is the first to wake up, finding Aze and feeling relieved that everyone is safe. Bell and Aze go to talk to the leader of the raid, Van Diamond, who congratulates them for surviving and accepts them into the family until they recover. Outside the tent, we meet two members of the Loki family named Taion and Tiona Hiryut, who are sisters. These girls seem very friendly with Bell, as they saw how he fought the Minotaur, considering him strong and respectable. Bell takes a walk with Aze, discovering the wonders of floor 18, which seems to have its own biome. Later that night, Welf and Lily finally wake up, much to Bell's delight. They apologize to Bell for slowing him down, but he thanks them for guiding him along the way, confirming their teamwork. Aze enters to invite them to dinner and socialize with the other members, but during dinner, they hear screams at the entrance, which turns out to be Hestia and the rescue team, giving us an emotional reunion between Bell and his goddess. Bell and his group realize that those accompanying them are the Take family members. They apologize, but Mikoto feels the guiltiest. Welf and Lily don't want to accept their apologies, but they keep apologizing. Luca decides to take the blame, saying she doesn't regret saving her people first. Bell hears that and understands that they did the right thing by saving themselves, as he would have done the same for Welf and Lily, finding some peace. As they retire to their respective tents, Hestia gives Welf the task that Hephaestus gave him. Bell is appreciating what the dungeon offers and Aze appears, so they chat a bit. Ayaz mentions the existence of a village on this floor, surprising Belle. Ayaz invites him to visit it, and Belle gladly accepts. But Hestia overhears and gets jealous, grabbing Belle for herself and going to visit the village. The next day, Belle and Hestia go to the village, but several people hear about it and join them. In the village called Liliruca, which was founded only by adventurers, everything is extremely expensive, but Welf and Lily need to replenish supplies since they left everything behind while escaping. Outside the village, the girls decide to take a bath, but Hermes drags Belle to a high place in the forests. There it's revealed that Hermes has Christian tastes, but as Belle knows that spying is wrong and is clumsy in those situations, he ends up falling among the girls, blushing from seeing them all, and runs away in embarrassment. He ends up where Ryu is, who is also taking a bath, but Belle manages to explain things before she accidentally kills him out of anger. While Belle apologizes for what happened, Ryu picks some flowers and goes to a grave with several weapons stuck in it, revealing a bit of Ryu's past. She belonged to a family that was killed by another enemy family, so Ryu took revenge by killing them all, ending up badly wounded and close to death. She was found by Sir, who gave her a new life in the restaurant. In a bar in the village, the guy who was previously humiliated by Ryu is so angry that Belle, just being level 2, has achieved so much, while they with several years have not progressed beyond that level. They decide to make a plan to teach him a lesson. The Loki family heads to the surface, so the others prepare to follow them, but Hestia is kidnapped by the guys from the bar using something to become invisible. Belle rushes immediately upon seeing the letter they left, and Uka, who was training, notices Belle and how hurried he is. Belle arrives at the location, but it's just a distraction to hit Belle using the same artifact of invisibility from Hermes that they used to kidnap Hestia. It turns out it was Hermes' plan all along for Belle to learn about the disgusting side of humans and understand that sometimes he will have to get his hands dirty. Belle's companions learn about the situation thanks to Oka and come to help, starting a fight between adventurers. While this happens, Lily manages to rescue Hestia, so they both go to where Belle is. The fight between adventurers is problematic since the other side has more people, but Ryu arrives to even the odds. Belle is being constantly beaten, but thanks to them, he starts to feel the enemy's movements, dodging them all and counterattacking, taking the invisibility artifact from the guy. Still, the guy doesn't give up. At that moment, Hestia arrives, but the chaos is so great that no one backs down, so she decides to use her divinity to make everyone run and control the situation. There's no time to relax as the floor boss Goliath appears, falling from the ceiling and landing in the middle of the guys who attacked Belle. Goliath's appearance alters the behavior of the monsters living on floor 18, and they attack everyone. Belle makes quick decisions to go help them and control the threat, even with the low number of members he has. About to be killed, Belle and the others arrive, saving most of them. Asvi orders Bors, who is the leader of the village, to gather all the adventurers and weapons they can to defeat the floor boss since the escape routes are destroyed. Belle's group begins the attack on the boss and notices that it's a level 5 boss, which is abnormal for the middle floor, so their attacks won't do anything to it. Ryu and Asvi, being the strongest, decide to be at the forefront of the fight as the adventurers begin the joint attack to give time to the mages with their enchantments. Finally, the mages launch a massive attack and the monster falls, but it regenerates, counterattacking everyone, breaking the ranks of both the adventurers and the mages. Ryu and Asvi leave the rear to Belle and throw themselves alone to fight Goliath to give everyone time to regroup, but Goliath regenerates very quickly, preventing them from reaching his magic stone, and uses constant attacks, making it impossible for the others to regroup. Belle observes this and begins to charge the Juggernaut, launching his fire magic, blowing half of Goliath's head off, but he still regenerates, attacking Belle, who is saved by Oka, who ends up badly wounded alongside Belle. Ryu and Asvi observe Belle's power, so they decide that their chance to win is for Belle to recover and fully charge his ability, proceeding both to fight again at the front. Belle can't move, but he's aware that he must fight, so he starts to remember his grandfather's words thanks to Hermes, so he wakes up and uses one of the magical weapons left by the Loki family. Belle starts charging the Juggernaut with the idea of protecting everyone with it, surprising everyone present as it shines brightly and the bells ring, alerting Goliath that Belle is dangerous, so he decides to attack. But everyone, seeing Belle at the front, helps, giving him more time. Asvi uses Hermes' boots to blind him. Ryu uses all of her skills to become faster and attack, using a bombardment enchantment. Mikoto uses a divine gravity spell to sink him into the ground to stop his advance, and Welf discards his pride for his friends using a magical weapon, which everyone observes has a terrifying power. All of this gives enough time to use the Juggernaut to its full potential, and Belle launches himself into the attack, destroying half of Goliath's body, but doesn't end there, as he still regenerates. Belle, in a quick move, goes for the monster's stone, finally destroying it, relieving everyone and celebrating the victory. Hermes watches from afar, ecstatic as the birth of a hero has occurred, exclaiming that Zeus is Belle's grandfather, giving us to understand that Belle was raised by the god of the most powerful family in Orario. Belle and the group are in the dungeon with a new member, Mikoto, takes family member who apologizes and offers to accompany them to help on the intermediate floors, noticing that everyone has improved since the battle with Goliath. At a bar, the boys celebrate wealth reaching level 2 and becoming a member of the Hephaestus family. But while they dine, a guy arrives and starts mocking them for leveling up so quickly and for their pasts. He goes too far by mentioning Bel's goddess, injuring him and making him want to hit him, but Wealth steps in and knocks him out, starting a bar fight. They are overpowered by a single level 3 man named Hyacinthos, a member of Apollo's Familia. Just as Hyacinthos is about to kill Bel, Beat stops him as he can't stand an unfair fight among levels. Back at Hestia's home, they begin to be heated and scolded for the fight, but Hestia overhears that the Apollo Familia were the ones who instigated the altercation, worrying her. At the guild, Lina wants to scold him, but since Hestia already did, she only warns him not to do it again, as fights between families turn the city into a war zone. Bel is about to leave when he meets Daphne and Cassandra, who are members of the Apollo Familia, and they invite him to the Apollo Familia banquet, which Hestia accepts, but she takes along the gods Take and Maich, each with their respective child. At the banquet, they meet Hermes, who came with Asvi. Apollo arrives to start the banquet, and Freya appears with Otter, who greets everyone and starts flirting with Bel, but Hestia marks her territory instantly. Loki also arrives with Eyes, who starts arguing with Hestia as always. In the garden, Hermes meets Bel, who is somewhat overwhelmed by how glamorous the place is, so they start talking about why Bel decided to be an adventurer, recalling his grandfather who told him great things about Aurario. Hermes listens to everything and tells him that there are the most beautiful women in the world there and that he should at least dance with one, looking towards Aes. With Hermes' help and insistence, Bel goes out to dance with Aes, and they have great synergy as they were training partners. After the dance, Apollo starts his plan, and we understand that the fight in the bar and everything that happens after was to set them up, challenging them to a war game between families, exciting all the gods, with the winner taking everything. Hestia refuses, but this will have consequences. Back at Hestia's home, she explains to Bel what a war game is, mentioning that the winner takes everything from the other and fulfills the other's request. With the explanation given, both prepare to leave but are ambushed outside, starting a chase through the city in which Bel fights half-heartedly as he is protecting Hestia. But they are cornered by Daphne and Cassandra, forcing Bel to fight. Bel manages to escape to head to the guild, but Cassandra tells Daphne that they shouldn't mess with Bel as she had a prophecy in which Apollo loses. Daphne hears everything and simply decides to ignore what Cassandra says. At the dungeon entrance, Wealth and Lily are worried about Bel's delay and just hear about the battle in the city, heading to help. Aes also learns about Bel's situation but can't help as it would involve the entire Loki family. While escaping, Hestia realizes that the Soma family is involved in the pursuit, and Bel decides to defeat them to catch his breath, but he is trapped by Hyacinthos, starting an uphill battle against Bel. At the guild, Ina asks her boss to do something about the situation, but they can't do anything as the Apollo Familia is prepared to pay any punishment or sanction given to them. Bel suffers a lot of damage but cannot retreat as he must protect Hestia. Bel falls and is about to be cut down, but the Maich Familia arrives to the rescue, nods at attacking from afar. However, it is not enough as Bel is too injured to continue, so the enemies close in. Just as the enemies arrive, the Take Familia arrives as support, giving Maich time to heal them, and Wealth and Lily assist them in escaping together. On the way, Wealth and Lily stay behind to give Bel and Hestia more time, but Lily encounters Xenos, one of the members of the Soma Familia, leaving Wealth alone in the fight, who also realizes that the Soma Familia is involved in the problem. Bel and Hestia hide, realizing that they cannot live being pursued, so Hestia decides to escape from Aurario with Bel. However, they are found, injuring Hestia greatly, leading them to Apollo's mansion, where they accept the war games. Wealth meets Bel and warns him about the Soma Familia, who took Lily. Bel heads to rescue her, but Hestia calms him down, insisting that he must become stronger for the war with Apollo, or the rescue of Lily will be in vain. Bel listens to his goddess and decides to use everything he has, asking Aes for help in training him, as that is the fastest way to become stronger, and he also gets help from Tyon and Tiona. In the Soma Familia, we see that the members are only addicted to wine. Lily wants to leave the family, but Xenos will not allow it, and the god Soma is someone who is only interested in making alcohol. We learn that the Soma Familia interfered in the war for money, and because of Lily, as her transformation magic is special, so Xenos wants to make some money from Lily's magic. In a warehouse, Hestia plans the rescue of Lily, but Uka thinks they should focus on the war games. Hestia explains that she will rescue Lily for Bel, as he won't be able to focus if he knows his friends are in danger, and everyone agrees to rescue Lily. The meeting of the gods begins between Apollo and Hestia, with the battle choice being decided by lottery, which turns out to be a siege. Apollo, with more members in his family, has the advantage in these games, but in his arrogance he allows Hestia to be the attacker, with them only defending. Additionally, Hermes and Freya suggest that Hestia receive help to make the game fairer. In the Soma Familia, we see that Xenos is a complete scumbag, the worst of the worst, but just then, Hestia and the others head to save Lily. She wants to stop them, but she is imprisoned, so the jailer gives her the keys as he doesn't like Xenos. Outside, the fight is underway and Lily tries to stop them, but Hestia will not back down as Belle will need Lily's help for the games, asking her not to give up on Belle. Upon hearing everything that happened while she was locked up, Lily decides to confront her god, begging him to help them, but Soma only listens to those who resist his drink, forcing Lily to drink it. She falls instantly but gets up with all the effects of the drink as she must help Belle and asks again to stop the fight. Finally, Soma uses his authority, but Xenos does not want to let Lily go as she is easy money, but Welf arrives and gives him what he deserves. Additionally, Lily asks to stop belonging to the Soma Familia and to belong to the Hestia Familia, increasing Hestia's family. In the Take Familia, Mikoto asks to be able to belong to Hestia's Familia to help Belle, and the same goes for Welf, who asks Hephaestus to let him join Belle. Hermes also helps by asking Ryu to join the fight, thus increasing Belle's family members and companions. It's the day of the games, and Belle returns from his hard training with Ace and the sisters to join the others in the battle area. On the way, Belle receives an amulet from Sir, which inspires him to fight even harder. Apollo's house also prepares at their base, but Cassandra still refuses to fight Belle, as her prophecy tells her they will lose, but Daphne still doesn't believe her. In the city, everyone is attentive to the games as bets are placed everywhere, even the gods are watching the game. The fight begins, and the first to attack is Ryu, using magical swords to deliver powerful blows. Seeing how they are being attacked, a group is sent outside by Luan's order, who indicates Hyacinthos' orders to take care of Ryu. However, Ryu is very strong, defeating them all. Mikoto takes advantage of half the forces being outside to enter, but she is also attacked by Luan's orders, but dodges all attacks and uses gravity magic to stop the remaining enemies. Where the gods are, Hermes is very intrigued by the progress of the battle, as the response to the attacks is very fast. Just then, Luan opens the main door to let in Belle and Welf, but we learn that Luan is Lily using her transformation magic, and the real Luan was kidnapped by Mych, the kindest god in the entire series, literally. Belle and Welf, on the way, encounter enemies, and Welf decides to stay, quickly defeating the mages thanks to his magic, leaving only Daphne. Belle can then advance towards Hyacinthos, who is the leader. Hyacinthos decides to fight against Belle, but Cassandra begs him to flee, but Hyacinthos is too arrogant to do so. Everyone gives their all to allow Belle to reach the enemy, but Hyacinthos uses the Argonaut to create a direct path towards him, surprising everyone who sees his ability for the first time. Hyacinthos is about to be defeated, but he is saved by Cassandra, which Hyacinthos takes advantage of to cast magic. Cassandra is pushed aside by Lily, leaving Belle to fight Hyacinthos, but his magic is faster and stronger, hitting Belle. However, Sir's necklace protects Belle, although not completely, as Belle still ends up badly injured. Hyacinthos tries to take advantage of this, but Belle uses everything he has learned and gained in the short time, giving him a beating in a hand-to-hand combat, thus winning the Hestia family, surprising everyone. The Hestia family takes everything from the Apollo family, and Apollo is banished from Aurario, dismantling the Apollo family. The Hestia family stays in Apollo's mansion, thus creating a new family symbol representing Hestia as the goddess and Belle as the first Familia member. Everyone is at the table to celebrate everything that happened, especially Belle, who has reached level 3, becoming the strongest and the captain of the Hestia family. Additionally, Hestia announces that the Goibnu family has completed the requests of each member of the house, obtaining a hot spring bath and a forge. As they inspect the house, Belle realizes that it will be difficult to keep it clean, so Hestia and Lily have the idea of hiring maids, but they forget about it as Belle is literally a chick magnet. Outside the house, we find Daphne and Cassandra. Cassandra is looking for her pillow as she can't sleep without it, and in her dreams, the pillow stayed at the mansion, but Daphne mentions that that would be bothering the owners. Belle doesn't care and finds the pillow, returning it to her. Thanks to them, we learn that Hestia is recruiting adventurers for the family. The next morning, everyone is surprised as the adventurers who came for the interview are many and of various races, but in the middle of the interview, Mikoto appears with the debt papers she has with Hephaestus for Belle's dagger, and everyone hears about the debt, to which no one wants to stay for. Finally, Belle realizes that his dagger is worth 200 million and faints instantly, as he almost lost it several times. Inside the house, they start scolding Hestia for the debt, as she didn't mention anything to anyone. But the members don't have a problem with it, so they decide to spend more time in the dungeons to earn money, but they want to shorten the debt, so they ask about Apollo's money, to which Hestia confirms that nothing was left due to the mansion's renovations. As Hestia is stubborn, she doesn't want to receive help to pay the debt to Hephaestus, as the debt was because of her. Belle wakes up, and Welf takes him to refresh himself, trying out the new hot spring bath. In the women's bath area, Hestia overhears Welf and Belle's conversation. Belle begins to thank Welf for joining his family and for always helping him. He also talks about the other girls who happen to enter the women's bath, hearing that Belle is grateful to Mikoto despite how they met, as she has saved his life many times. Regarding Lily, he mentions that thanks to her, he can be called an adventurer, as she is always by his side. Finally, he expresses gratitude to Hestia, who is the only goddess who extended her hand to him, and despite all her flaws, she is the best goddess in his eyes. During dinner, Hestia accepts everyone's help to pay off the debt. As Belle said, the family supports each other. After dinner, Mikoto escapes from home because of something Chigusa said, but the boys notice and decide to follow her. Mikoto meets Chigusa, and they end up in the pleasure district of Arario. Welf and Lily rush to help the girls as they are being harassed by the workers, but Belle stays behind, being dragged into one of the brothels. After helping the girls, they explain that they are looking for a friend from their home who may be working there. The boys hear the situation and agree to help, but they just realize that Belle is not with them. Belle, being the innocent boy he is, doesn't know what to do and is very lost, but he locks eyes with a Renard, a fox woman who disappears suddenly. Just then, Hermes arrives to tease him for being in that place, offering him an energy drink, which is very expensive, but Belle doesn't want any of that. He just wants Hermes to help him find the others. However, Hermes has his own business, so he leaves. Belle tries to follow him but bumps into Aisha, who flirts with him, grabbing him so he can't escape, revealing that Aisha is stronger than Belle. More girls arrive and realize that Belle is the champion of the games, wanting to be with him even more, dragging him to the palace of the district where we meet the owner of the district, the goddess Ishtar. Belle is so overwhelmed by the women who want to be with him, but he doesn't know how to escape. Just then, Phryne, the strongest Familia member and commander of the Ishtar Familia, arrives. She also wants Belle, but if she has her way with Belle, he will literally die a very ugly death. Aisha and the others don't want to hand Belle over, starting an argument among the Familia members. Belle takes advantage of the situation to escape, so they all decide that whoever catches him first can be with him, starting a hunt throughout the district for Belle's purity. While escaping, he enters a brothel where he meets Haruhime, the Renard he had seen before, but she thinks Belle is a client and tries to sleep with him. But she faints instantly just by looking at Belle's body. After clearing up the misunderstanding, Haruhime helps Belle hide until dawn. While they wait, they talk and learn about each other's past, getting along better thanks to that, as they both have the same tastes for hero stories and admire them. Hermes is doing business with Ishtar, who asked him for a specific item to fight someone, whom we don't know yet. She asks him for information about any weaknesses he may have, but Hermes doesn't say anything, so Ishtar uses her gifts and obtains the information, revealing that his weakness is Belle, indicating that the person she wants to fight is the goddess Freya. Belle and Haruhime get along very well thanks to their tastes, even learning that Haruhime had the illusion of being saved by a hero. But that can't happen because Haruhime is a prostitute, and if someone saves her, she will only bring them trouble and misfortune. Belle listens to everything and thinks the opposite, but Haruhime is so broken inside that she has already accepted the fact that she will not be able to have a decent life. It's morning and Haruhime guides him to the exit, but Belle still remembers the things he talked about with her and how she despises herself for working in a brothel. At home, Belle is scolded by Hestia for going to the pleasure district, and as punishment, he is sent to sweep the neighbor's sidewalks, but he receives help from the boys as they feel guilty for the problem. While they talk, Mikoto learns about Haruhime from Belle, thus explaining Haruhime's situation to Mikoto. Lily somehow knows what Belle is thinking and clarifies that he cannot save her now, as they have just come out of a war, and another war would be a burden for the family and Hestia herself. Welf and Mikoto agree, stopping Belle from trying anything. At the tavern, Hermes wants to send a message to Freya, as he lets slip the information that Belle is important to her, and Ishtar wants to ruin Freya, which Sur overhears. At the guild, Belle asks Aina about the Ishtar Familia and the Pleasure District, causing Aina to scold him for going to those places. After the scolding, we learn that the Ishtar Familia is a strong family with level 3 members, and the strongest is Phryne, who is level 4. They also mention Aisha, who is famous for being the second strongest in the family. Belle asked about Haruhime, but there are no records of her, leading to the conclusion that Haruhime is just a simple member of the Ishtar Familia. Belle is in a library and start reading a book about heroes, this given more doubts about Save Haruhime. In the Pleasure District, Aisha is very kind to Haruhime, noticing that she is not a bad person. Just then, Mikoto appears to help and talk to her, but Haruhime doesn't want to be a burden to anyone, so she ignores her. At home, Belle hears about Mikoto's situation with Haruhime in the Pleasure District, and thanks to Mikoto, we learn about Haruhime's past. Since she was a child, despite being a noble, she has always been kind, compassionate, and pure. Additionally, Mikoto explains that Haruhime was deceived and sold as a slave to the Ishtar family. Belle finally decides to save her with Mikoto's help, but they don't know how. Just then, Hermes arrives, and they ask for his help since he knows a lot about the Pleasure District. Hermes is informed of the situation and suggests buying her since it is possible to do so in the district. However, they mention that she is a Renard, which worries Hermes because Ishtar seems to have plans involving a Renard, but he does not mention this to the others, only telling them that he did a job for Ishtar, which was to deliver the Death Stone. In the Ishtar family, the order is given to capture Belle to provoke Freya, but to bring him in secretly to avoid alerting Freya. The group is in the dungeon working hard to get the money and buy Haruhime's freedom, but the Ishtar family is waiting with an ambush. As Bel and the others advance, Aisha ambushes Bel in the midst of battle. He fights back against Aisha, but he is defeated due to the difference in strength, as Aisha seems to have received a strengthening magic from a mysterious person. Mikoto arrives to help, but they are no match for Aisha and are captured. We finally see that the person who used the strengthening magic was Haruhime, and upon realizing that the targets were Bel and Mikoto, she regrets helping. Bel is in a prison of the Ishtar family, but he is about to be used by Frine. Aisha informs the other members to look for Bel because Frine kidnapped him to use him, which will kill him. Haruhime overhears the situation and decides to first save Mikoto by giving her the keys to her cell. Frine, who is about to ruin Bel, cannot do anything because Bel is not in hard mode, so she leaves to get an aphrodisiac. Haruhime takes advantage of the moment to rescue Bel, who cries out of desperation. Mikoto escapes and starts looking for Bel, but she doesn't find him. Instead, she finds documents explaining the intended use of the Death Stone. Haruhime leads Bel through a secret path that only two people know, her and Frine. Bel worries because that means she is the only one responsible for his escapes, but Haruhime is resigned, knowing they won't kill her because they need her. Bel also tells her that Mikoto and he are working hard to save her by raising money to buy her freedom, which greatly pleases Haruhime, although she remains resigned to her fate. At home, the Take and Hestia families begin to understand that the problems with the Ishtar family are escalating. Hestia mentions the object Hermes mentioned, the Death Stone, which frightens Take as it is a forbidden magical object that seals the soul of a Renard to use its strengthening magic. If the stone is broken into several pieces, the power and potency do not decrease, potentially allowing for an army with strengthening magic. However, the downside is that the soul is destroyed, resulting in the individual's death. The Renard to be used for sealing is Haruhime, and the soul-sealing ritual needs to be performed on a full moon night, which happens to be tonight, forcing everyone to act to save the kids. Bel reaches the exit, and Haruhime starts to say goodbye, but Mikoto arrives and confronts Haruhime about the Death Stone ritual, confusing Bel. Aisha arrives to take Haruhime, explaining that Haruhime has the power to make you stronger, which finally makes Bel understand how Aisha was able to defeat him. Aisha confirms that they are doing all this to start a war against Freya. She also explains their situation and her past with her family, inciting Bel to save Haruhime. However, Bel is not yet mature enough to make such decisions as he has people to protect. But there is no time for Bel to think as Ishtar's family members arrive, forcing Mikoto to drag Bel to safety. Hestia and the others are looking for Bel but are not allowed to pass because Bel is still inside and the ritual is about to happen. At the Ishtar family's house, they decide to start the ritual and worry about capturing Bel later. Mikoto heads to watch the surroundings, giving Bel time to organize his thoughts. He regrets not being able to save Haruhime and is so remorseful that the Argonaut begins to glow, making him understand that saving her is what a hero should do. Mikoto arrives to tell him it's time to flee, but Bel is determined to save Haruhime and says that if a war happens, it will think of something later. Mikoto is happy with Bel's decision, so they both come up with a plan, with Mikoto infiltrating to rescue Haruhime and Bel at the front as a distraction, starting a battle that alerts everyone, including Hestia and the others, who forcefully enter to help them. Aisha and Frine prepare to fight Bel, while the others continue with the stone ritual. Bel, exhausted from using so much magic, starts fighting against Aisha and Frine, who overwhelm him. However, Ishtar arrives, withdraws all her daughters, and begins to talk to Bel. She reveals that Haruhime's death is necessary for the war against Freya, which is fueled by Ishtar's envy and jealousy of Freya. Ishtar controls Bel through one of her sons and is about to seduce him, but his Realis Frey's ability makes him immune to divine enchantments, and he manages to escape due to a mistake by Ishtar. At Freya's house, she prepares to confront Ishtar, gathering her familia members. The ritual is about to take place, so Mikoto arrives to save Haruhime, but she doesn't want to go with them as being saved by Bel would bring him suffering, as she is a woman who sleeps for money, only bringing problems and prejudice. For taking too long to rescue her, Mikoto is injured, failing in her mission, but Bel and Mikoto do not give up yet. The ritual is in its final stages, but Mikoto arrives again, starting to fight Samura, who is much stronger than her. Despite defeating her in pure hand-to-hand combat, Mikoto uses her magic in a last attack, leaving the way clear for Bel and falls unconscious. Bel takes advantage of this and runs to save Haruhime at the right moment, stopping the ritual and breaking the Death Stone. In the Pleasure District, Freya is destroying everything, making her way towards Ishtar. Haruhime is saved, but Frine is an obstacle to overcome. Additionally, Haruhime still believes she should not be saved, but Bel clarifies that no matter what happened to her, he will save her, as she needs to be saved to live a good life. Haruhime hears Bel's words and finally accepts being saved, lending her magic to Bel to fight against Frine, injuring her and knocking Haruhime out. This angers Bel, and he goes all out to fight her. As the Freya familia is attacking, Aisha orders all the girls to retreat as the Ishtar family is finished. Hestia and the others continue searching for Bel, learning that Freya is attacking the Ishtar family, so they must hurry to find them before something else happens. Bel is so angry with Phryne for all the things she did that he engages in a brutal fight, but Phryne is stronger, forcing Bel to change weapons to defeat her with critical attacks, causing her to fall from the tower. Bel heads to rescue Haruhime, but Aisha wants a fight with Bel to clarify if he is willing to accept the consequences of being with Haruhime. Phryne survives the fall and meets Utter, who breaks her arm with just a squeeze. Phryne realizes she may die and starts saying things she shouldn't, mentioning Freya, which causes Utter to kill her. Bel responds to Aisha, accepting everything that comes with Haruhime and using all of his strength to rescue her. Bel waits for Haruhime's magic to run out so he can show his power to Aisha, and the fight begins. Finally, Freya encounters Ishtar, who can do nothing but run to escape Freya, as Freya seems to have more power than Ishtar. Freya reminds Ishtar that she knew everything she was doing, and that touching Bel was unforgivable. Hermes from a distance observes ecstatically as things develop chaotically, believing that this will make Bel the hero he should be. Bel and Aisha's fight is very close, but Aisha enchants her sword, as does Bel with the Argonaut, making the fight even more brutal. They both lose their weapons, but Bel, with the experience gained from several fights, uses his combined magic in his fist to deliver the final blow, defeating Aisha. With nowhere to run, Ishtar tries to buy time for her son to deal with Freya, but Freya is stronger, which further arouses Ishtar's jealousy and envy. She launches herself at Freya, who throws her from the tower, sending her to the world of the gods and thus destroying the Ishtar family. Calm returns and Haruhime is finally saved, free from the Ishtar family. Haruhime sheds tears of gratitude towards Bel, and the other kids arrive along with Mikoto, who is also safe, finally reuniting everyone. Outside Aurario, a war is raging against the Rekia kingdom, belonging to the Ares family, but they are no match for a city of adventurers. At home, Haruhime becomes a familiar member of Hestia, bidding farewell to Aisha, who always took care of her. Additionally, we learn that Haruhime has never been with a man and remains pure, but Aisha does not mention it as things are fine as they are. Hermes is with Bel, congratulating him for saving Haruhime and explaining about the 3 great quests, which are to defeat 3 ancient monsters, 2 of which have already been defeated by the Zeus and Hera families, who were the strongest in Aurario, but were defeated by the Black Dragon, the 3rd monster. Ares is angry because they cannot win, so Marius advises him to return home, but Ares seems to be someone who doesn't think things through, while Marius is the smartest of the group, but they get along well. At home, Bel is scolded by Hestia because he unconsciously flirts with the girls, ordering that the boys and girls cannot hold hands or have any physical contact. This causes a discussion among everyone, as it will be difficult in the dungeon. So Hestia decides to change the order to no flirting or indecency. Mikoto and Welf ask if it's okay to have relationships with the gods, to which Hestia affirms that it is completely fine, but Bel implies that he is not interested as he respects the deities and thinks it would be wrong to be with a god as a mortal. Hestia hears this and gets angry, leaving home as if Bel had rejected all possibilities of romance. Bel doesn't understand what he did wrong but decides to go look for Hestia to apologize. In Ares' family, he decides to go to Aurario to kidnap a goddess without thinking about the consequences, as Ares is someone very absent-minded. Bel continues to search for Hestia, but he meets Maich and Hephaestus, who give him advice on how to accept a deity's feelings, as a deity's love is fleeting but will still remember you even if you love someone else. They advise him to treat the feelings of a deity and others with respect. A shopkeeper asks Hestia to collect some ingredients outside Aurario, which she reluctantly accepts. However, at the gate, she encounters Ares kidnapping her. Ganesha is guarding the entrance, and upon seeing this, alerts the entire city about Hestia's kidnapping, as she is a deity of Aurario. Bel finishes talking with the gods, and thanks to Aiz, he learns about Hestia's kidnapping. They both prepare to rescue her, but Hermes offers Asphy's help as she will find Hestia's location. They manage to reach them thanks to Asphy's help, who guides them from the sky. Aiz distracts them while Bel rescues Hestia, but Hestia falls at the beginning, causing Bel to jump to save her, and Aiz follows, falling into a river. The 3 arrive at a village where they are welcomed by Karm, the mayor, and his daughter Rena. However, Hestia seems to have a slight discomfort from the fall, so they decide to stay until she recovers. The village is about to celebrate a festival, and Bel and Aiz decide to help until Hestia gets better. When they return, they see that the villagers worship the scales of the Black Dragon as they protect them from monsters, but Aiz seems upset with what the villagers are doing, though she simply continues on her way with Bel. Back home, Karm tells Bel about his past, how he was the son of a goddess, and they were both in love, but he couldn't protect her, so his goddess went to the world of the gods. He also explains that he lived a lonely life and that his daughter Rena, who was adopted, helped him keep living. Karm asks Bel to protect his goddess with all he has so she doesn't regret it like he does. Hestia is feeling better, so Bel and Aiz decide to go to the festival. Everyone has fun dancing and enjoying themselves, but Rena informs them that Karm is about to pass away. In bed, Karm begins to remember his goddess, who is a very close friend of Hestia's. They talk about her, and Karm looks at his goddess and Hestia, with his last words being, "I love her too." Everyone cries for Karm's departure, including Bell. Bell and Hestia talk about the relationship between gods and mortals. Bell is very sad about what happened with Karm and thinks a lot about his relationship with Hestia, as at some point he will leave this world and Hestia will still be there. However, Hestia comforts him, saying that no matter how much time passes, she will always be with him and will always look for him even after death, and even if she is reborn, she will still search for him. Bell is on the 19th floor of the dungeon and encounters a humanoid monster who is crying. Just as another monster appears, Bell easily deals with it. They notice that the humanoid monster is being pursued by adventurers, so Bell decides to save her by tricking the adventurers. The rest of the group arrives and wants to know who she is, but Bell mentions that he will tell them later on the 18th floor. In the safe zone, everyone discovers that the mysterious person is a monster and goes on guard, but Bell protects her. In the heat of the moment, the girl starts speaking, which astonishes everyone. Bell explains the situation, and the fact that she speaks and shows emotions strengthens his desire to protect her. Somewhere else in the dungeon, we meet Fels, who is an assistant to the god Uranus, who is responsible for overseeing the dungeon. They seem to know about the existence of monsters that can speak and are closely following Bell and the others' case. Back at home, Hestia is equally astonished as she didn't know that there were monsters that could speak. However, seeing that the monster is very docile, she agrees to hide and protect her. To become more familiar with her, Bell gives her the name Ween. Hestia orders to gather information from the families closest to them. Welf finds information in the guild about monsters that steal from adventurers, and Lily obtains information from Lulun, a Hermes familiar, about other families seeking information about speaking monsters. Back at home, Bell and Haruhime teach Ween many things, but she doesn't know how to behave around people. Haruhime warns that it's time for dinner, so Ween sits next to Bell, curious about the things they call food. Upon trying them, Ween becomes so excited about the things she's learned that she accidentally injures Bell with her nails, frightening her. Bell asks her to calm down and not to worry, as he's okay. At home, Ween seems to have improved in her manners and language, so everyone eats dinner together. However, Lily and Welf still think about the consequences of hiding her. Nonetheless, they let things unfold as they are going well for now. After dinner and a great bath, Welf takes care of Ween's nails, which are dangerous, greatly delighting her. However, Lily is still in a bad mood, as problems can arise at any moment. Nevertheless, everyone seems to understand that Ween is a situation to be careful of, but they must protect her nonetheless. Ween stays to sleep with Bell and Hestia. Bell wants to know about Ween's past, to which she responds that she only has dreams of fighting with humans, leaving them bloody, and having killed them. She asks for help to escape that dream, but in the end, she always feels that everything turns cold and the cycle begins again. Hermes is with his family and receives a request from Uranus to gather information about imprisoned monsters and the Ikelos family. Somewhere else, the Ikelos family is trafficking monsters, and Dix, the commander of their family, receives news that a monster has escaped, which turns out to be Ween. This starts a hunt for her, but Dix asks for help from his god, treating him as an equal, revealing that Ikelos is a god who is guided by things that interest him. Back at home, the group decides to go to the dungeon, as that is the only way to get more information about Ween. However, they can't leave the house unprotected now that Ween is with them, so only Welf, Lily, and Bell go. They also ask Ryu for help, but she refuses. Just then, Aisha appears, who accepts the job, but in exchange for some time alone with Bell. Ryu separates them as Bell has served, sparking a discussion between them. Both decide to go for their own benefit. In the dungeon, Ryu and Aisha are at the front, but they start to be attacked by monsters of the same race as Ween, which makes Bell lower his guard, worrying everyone as they realize he is not fighting as he should. In the safe zone, Welf and Bell advance alone, leaving the girls behind to investigate Ween. While investigating, they encounter a mysterious woman who seems to know Ween, but disappears after confirming that she is not dead. Both are surprised as they confirm the existence of other monsters that can speak. On their way back, they encounter Dix's group, who are searching for Ween. Thanks to Dix's companion, he learns that Bell was there the same day Ween went missing, arousing suspicions in Dix. Outside the dungeon, Ryu and Aisha leave the group, so only the three of them remain. Lily wants to know what they discovered, as they have been very quiet since they came down, but no one wants to talk about it there, as the information is complicated to assimilate and delicate if it becomes known. Back home, Bell decides to return alone to think things over, but he encounters Ikelos, who suspects Bell regarding Ween. Just then, Hermes arrives, letting Bell go. Hermes talks to Ikelos to confirm his suspicions about his business dealings, but Ikelos denies that it's his fault, as he doesn't care about what his children do, confirming Hermes' suspicion about Ikelos' family members. At home, Welf informs Hestia about what happened in the dungeon, and Lily mentions that they will no longer be able to keep hiding Ween, as if there are more like her, the problem will be known and will result in serious consequences. Ween overhears everything and runs away so as not to bother anyone, thinking that she will be separated from Bell. In the city, Ween saves a girl from being crushed but uses her powers, revealing her monster form and frightening everyone, who start throwing stones at her. Belle arrives to save her, although Lily does it first using her transformation magic to avoid arousing suspicion that the Hestia family is involved in the situation. They manage to escape and rescue Ween, deciding to hide her in the old Hestia family house. In the guild, everything is in chaos due to Ween's appearance, and the guild leader assigns a special mission to Belle, which Ina is in charge of delivering. Belle's mission is to take Ween to the 20th floor. Everyone suspects how the guild knows about Ween, but since they haven't captured her yet despite knowing of her existence, it means that the answers are on the 20th floor, so everyone agrees to go. Even Ween, who is scared, agrees to go as she will have everyone's company. The group enters the dungeon to fulfill the mission, but Hestia is summoned by the same message, as divine writing can only be read by gods. Hestia meets Fels, who summon her. Belle and the others manage to safely reach the 18th floor, advancing to the 20th floor, which is a new floor for the group. Fels guides Hestia through a secret path in the dungeon, where they meet Uranus, who tells her everything about the monsters that appeared some time ago and how Uranus and the guild are responsible for them as they protect them from the outside world. The group does everything possible to reach the 20th floor, which is very difficult due to the stronger monsters. They also notice that all the monsters are attacking Ween directly, but they manage to reach the floor thanks to Welf's weapons and Belle's strength. At the indicated location on the map, there is nothing, but they are guided by a calling in the form of a chant for Ween, finding a secret path. The group advances, but Belle feels that something is wrong, although Mikoto clarifies that she doesn't sense any monsters. However, Belle was right, and the place is a nest of monsters, starting a fight for Ween. The group starts losing, and a monster is about to attack Ween as they are overwhelmed. However, Welf and Mikoto manage to stop it, allowing Belle to use the Argonaut to defeat the strongest of the group. After the fight, the monster starts talking, indicating that it is a nest of monsters, but monsters that can speak and think, exactly like Ween. Rito, a lizard man who seems to be the leader and is very friendly, fought against Belle. With everyone introduced, Ween is welcome among them, and they finally explain to Belle and the others who they are, calling themselves Xenos. Urano continues talking with Hestia and asks her family to be the bridge for humans and Xenos to coexist despite their differences. In the Xenos nest, there is a welcome party for everyone, but the group still hasn't fully grasped the situation. The Xenos understand this, so they try to be kind and give them time to adjust. However, as in any society, there is always a faction that is not okay with it, like the humans, meaning Groz, the leader of the Xenos who do not trust humans. Hestia thinks Urano's request is crazy since humans have always hated monsters. However, Urano doesn't think so, as the Xenos don't attack. They want a dialogue to solve. Things they have dreams and hopes like a normal human. Also, the dungeon monsters attack them for being different from them. In the city, Hermes ruins Dix's plans, who were following Belle and his group, but they forget about that since hunting Xenos is their priority. In the Xenos nest, Fels appears, introducing himself as the sage who found immortality but lost his humanity in exchange. He also explains that he worked for Urano and asked them to help fulfill the Xenos' wish, which is to leave the dungeon and enjoy the world. Fels explains many things about the Xenos, how they live, how they hide, and how they seek out others like them to protect them. Finally, we learn that there is a missing Xenos, the strongest of them all, who is in the lower floors training. Finally, Urano explains his theory about the Xenos and their birth to Hestia, believing that they are reincarnations of monsters with great desires waiting to fulfill them. The Xenos say goodbye to the group, making it clear that they are very different from wild monsters since they feed on their magic stones to become stronger, so they shouldn't worry about defeating the monsters that attack them. Additionally, Ween must stay with the Xenos as it is safer with them than on the surface. Ween seems to be getting used to the Xenos, but they must constantly move to avoid being found. On the way, Ween hears a Xenos scream, and the group decides to go help, but it turns out to be a trap set by Ikola's family members, starting a battle. In the battle, the tables are almost the same, but Dix, as a level 4, changes the tide of the battle, defeating and capturing almost all of them, as some died fighting. Rainy dies by her own hand, as she prefers that to being captured, but not without marking some adventurers with her poison. At the mansion, Belle is feeling down because they left Ween, but after lunch he goes straight to the dungeon to visit Ween. After the battle, Groz arrives and finds the massacre, angering him to no end, inciting the others to seek revenge for what they did, with Rito unable to do anything but join them as he is also angry about what happened. Urano is aware of the movements of the Ikela's family, but has not yet located their hideout as they never leave the dungeon, leading to the conclusion that there may be more secret paths in the dungeon. Outside the dungeon, Belle wants to hear A's opinion on how she would act if she knew about monsters that can talk, have dreams, and emotions. Az only mentions that monsters that cause trouble would be killed by her, making her stance clear. Groz leads the attack on the 18th floor to search for the culprits, and because of this, the guild prohibits entry to everyone in the dungeon as they must not learn about the existence of the Xenos. Urano orders to send nearby families to solve the problem together, with Belle to test his willingness to help. On Herm's part, he sends Asfa and Aisha, who has become a familiar of Herm's as a contingency plan for Belle. However, Aisha informs Ryu so she can also help Belle, and that evils may be involved in this whole problem, which interests Ryu as she seems to have a past with them. Back home, everyone is worried about Belle since he is close to the dungeon, but a message from the guild arrives, warning them to prepare in case they are required and informing them that Belle will join the team heading to the 18th floor. At the Achilles family hideout, Dix is informed about the attack on the 18th floor, devising a plan to capture everyone in one fell swoop. The mission is entrusted to the Ganesha family, whose god knows about the existence of the Xenos. They are tasked with taming the monsters without causing harm, and Belle prepares to enter as well. On the 18th floor, Groz interrogates the individuals marked by Rainy, pointing out that there is a hidden door on the 18th floor, but does not inform them that they need a key to enter. The Ganesha family manages to arrive and begins the battle against the Xenos. Ryu, Vaishya, and Asphai watch from afar, but they notice that the humans are no match for the Xenos, so they decide to help and also locate Belle. Belle meets Rito, but before fighting, Belle wants to know his reasons, learning that Ween was kidnapped and the whole attack was in revenge for their fallen comrades. Belle wants to help, but Rito stops him, as if they see him with them, they will consider Belle a traitor. Ryu arrives where Belle is, distancing Rito and grouping up, but Belle does not follow her as he must save Ween. Ryu doesn't understand Belle's reasons, but she still helps him by giving him a bag with potions and other items. The Xenos reach the indicated place, but don't know how to enter, so Dix orders them to be let in to capture them inside, revealing that their lair is connected to the 18th floor. Fells meets Belle, but they don't know the way, so the bag that Ryu gave Belle starts to glow, revealing that the key was inside it. This way, they manage to open the door, discovering that the door is connected to the surface, allowing them to take the monsters out to sell them. They also realize that the creator of the door and the hidden paths was Daedalus. Hestia and the others want to help, but they will do it from outside, looking for the place where they sell the Xenos. The only person they can ask about this is a scoundrel like Xenos, who indicates that they can find answers on Daedalus Street. Hermes finds Ikelos, and he finally explains the whole context of the situation. Rito and his group manage to reach where the other Xenos are, but is only a trap set by Dix. Belle and Fells arrive just in time to help them, and we learn that Dix is a direct descendant of Daedalus, which is why he knows the paths. Ikelos explains to Hermes that Dix used the eyes of his ancestors to make the keys. Hermes explains that Daedalus was a familiar of Uranus and had the task of building the upper part of the dungeon since he was a genius. However, upon reaching the true dungeon, he became distraught as he did not know how it worked. Dix explains that Daedalus built an artificial labyrinth to compete with the dungeon and surpass it. However, Daedalus couldn't finish it since he is human, but he wasn't going to give up, leaving the task to his descendants. Because of this, they obtained a curse that forces them to work in the dungeon, becoming a curse for their lineage. To erase this curse, they needed to complete the labyrinth, which requires money and time since even after 1,000 years, they still haven't been able to complete it. Rose gets tired of listening to Dix and starts the battle, but Dix uses a labyrinth curse to turn them against each other. Fells entrusts the battle against Dix to Belle, but Dix is now level 5. Still, Belle decides to go against him. A couple of Xenos called the strongest of the group, who is a Minotaur. The Ganesha family has already defeated most of the Xenos, but just then, the strongest Xenos arrives, who ends up knocking down the entire Ganesha family, including Asvi, Aisha, and Ryu, but he does not kill any of them. The fight is brutal, but Belle has to focus on the fight with Dix, since he is at a disadvantage due to using the curse. However, Belle is still at a disadvantage due to the spear that Dix has, which also has a curse. Dix wished for a normal adventurer's life, but Daedalus' curse didn't allow it. Instead, he found the Xenos, with whom he enjoyed torturing, relieving him of the pain of Daedalus' curse. Dix gets tired of playing and takes Belle to where Ween is to prove to him that monsters will always be monsters even if they can talk. He then robs Ween of her sanity and transforms into his complete form, forcing Belle to fight her. However, Belle doesn't want to attack her and only takes the blows to slowly approach her and regain the real Ween. Dix sees that what Belle is doing works if he starts attacking him, but Rito regains consciousness and attacks Dix. Both in a joint attack go against Dix with all they have, knocking him down with the Argonaut. But he is not yet defeated as he deactivated the curse to withstand the blow. In a final attack, Dix puts Ween under the curse and sends her to the city, taking advantage of the commotion to escape. Belle is healed of his wounds thanks to Fells to go and stop Ween with the Xenos who can still fight. Hestia and the others on the surface realize that they are attacking, realizing that it is a monster, but in reality, it is Ween. Belle arrives to stop her, although the Loki family has already arrived and attacks Ween. This leaves Belle in doubt as he doesn't know what to do in front of everyone, but unconsciously and with all the doubts in him, he decides to protect Ween. Dix is about to escape, but is found by the Minotaur Xenos, who finishes him off with one blow, breaking the curse. On the surface, Belle claims Ween as his prey, fighting against her, but she manages to escape, fleeing through the city. The other Xenos arrive on the surface, but they start fighting the Loki family, showcasing the power of all the Loki family members, defeating them all. Fells decides to help by summoning a golem. but it is destroyed with a single blow. Finally, the strongest of the Xenos, named Mysterios, arrives and knocks down the Loki family members with a few blows. But they do not give up, which amuses Asterios. He then uses magic to immobilize them all. Az steps forward to fight him, cutting off one of his arms in a moment of carelessness, but both are very similar in power. In the distance, Freya observes the fight with Otter, realizing that this Minotaur resembles one that we have already seen. Az is falling back in the fight, so Finn and Gareth intervene to end the fight, but all the Xenos are saved by Herma's intervention, who sends his familiar to throw smoke bombs. Belle continues to pursue Ween through the city, but the adventurers want to finish her off, which Belle stops by attacking them with magic. However, the adventurers lead her into a trap where she is attacked by several mages, and the final blow is dealt by one of Dix's henchmen who survived the battle. Belle and Ween fall into a hole caused by the attack, and she is badly injured. Belle tries to revive her consciousness in the hope that she will recover, but it is too late as Ween is fading away. Belle can do nothing but cry for her as she slowly fades away. Fels arrives and uses life magic, a magic that goes against nature and the divine, to bring her back. The Xenos are saved and remain hidden in the underground passages of Aurario, but Belle's actions will not go unpunished as Ina reminds him by slapping him, as the Belle she knows would not have done that. Aikilos is expelled from Aurario, blamed for the monster outbreak. However, things are not well as the Xenos outside cannot re-enter and remain hidden in the city, where they can be found at any moment. Additionally, Belle is now being hated for his actions while chasing Ween. At home, the hatred towards Belle begins to affect the entire family, even Welf, who is in the forge for several days. Hermes arrives to request Belle's help again, as the Xenos must return to the dungeon, but is an impossible mission since the Loki family is hunting them, the Ganesha family is guarding the dungeon, and most adventurers are searching for them throughout Aurario. While Belle searches for any clues about the Xenos with Hestia, he begins to feel the hatred of the people, which affects him somewhat. However, Hestia helps him by clarifying that it is her fault since Belle did it to pay off her debts, calming things down a bit. They'd encounter Loki and Az, but Belle is so ashamed of the situation that he cannot face her. Hestia and Loki begin to argue, as it seems that Loki is interested in Belle because of everything that happened. Belle ends up escaping and goes to Sur, with whom he ends up going for a walk and treats him as always. However, Belle feels uncomfortable since people don't treat him that way and begins to realize the consequences of his actions thanks to Sur's words and comfort. He does not regret it, but he is afraid of what might happen to his family. Hermes begins to devise a plan using Daedalus notes and maps to save the Xenos, but Urana will owe him a favor. Asphai explains the situation of the Xenos to Aisha and Ryu, emphasizing that she needs their help. She also explains to Ryu that this may be related to the evils. Hephaestus, Takemikazuchi, and Maich are already aware of the Xenos situation and have not yet decided whether to support the plan to save them. At home, everyone decides to save the Xenos, and Welf takes out magical swords that he made during the days he was locked in the forge preparing for the mission. They obtain magical items from Fels and Daedalus notes. On the other hand, the Loki family also prepares to capture the Xenos. Fels explains the situation to the Xenos about the Hestia family's plan, worrying about Belle as he could be the most affected, but it is the only plan they have, so they decide to accept it and thank them for the help. Ina at the guild is very angry as Belle has not come to talk to her since the incident with Ween, so she goes to look for him to talk to him, but Hermes stops her and asks for a favor in exchange for telling her Belle's location. The mission begins with Belle being the bait for the plan and also the one with the most experience with monsters, which raises suspicions. Finn is overseeing the Loki family's work and decides to send eyes to keep an eye on Belle. Hestia informs Belle that the civilians have been evacuated and placed in a safe place by the guild, so they can proceed with the next step. Belle notices Az's presence, but Naza appears, confirming that the gods have decided to help the Xenos. Belle gives something to Naza to help him with the mission. After Naza, Aisha and Ryu appear, who also came to help, so Belle gives them instructions about the plan. Finally, Ina appears, who is looking for him to talk and explain what is happening. Welf and Mikoto start by locating the Xenos to signal the start of the mission, so Rito informs the dispersed Xenos that the rescue has begun. Freya, on her part, orders Otter to prepare in case things get worse. Lily distracts the adventurers with her transformation magic, causing chaos among them. Belle realizes that the rescue has already begun, so he leaves Ina, who forgets to deliver the item Hermes asked her to deliver, but she realizes that she cannot take it off. Belle advances, but several people chase him, including Az, so he uses the invisibility cloak, and Naza in the distance spreads illusory dust, but Az is still standing, so Ryu will fight her using Haruhime's magic, giving Belle time. Lily transforms into Finn, ordering them to leave one of the checkpoints unguarded, informing Hestia and Haruhime that the paths are open. The information also reaches Welf and Mikoto, who guide the Xenos through the path with the least security. The Xenos begin their escape with everyone's help, but Gareth, Loki's familiar, arrives, so Welf and Mikoto decide to fight him to buy time. However, Ween seems to have gotten lost during the fight with Gareth, ruining the plan, so Haruhime goes to rescue her. Hestia informs Belle about Ween, and he also heads to rescue her. Ween is found by Tiona, but manages to escape. Belle finds Haruhime and goes for Ween, who is being attacked. Ween manages to save a little girl on the way, and Tiona, who was pursuing her, decides not to kill her, as in her eyes, Ween is a non-evil monster and understands what is happening. During Welf and Mikoto's fight, both are losing, but Tsubaki, Hephaestus' family member, arrives to help them stop Gareth. Belle and Haruhime manage to find Ween, but Beat arrives, locating them by their scent, forcing Haruhime to come out to give Belle and Ween time. But Aisha arrives to defend her, receiving Haruhime's reinforcing magic and starting a fight between them. However, Aisha ends up losing, allowing Haruhime to return to help the others. Belle is with Ween, escaping, but Aiz arrives and Belle begins to fight her without hesitation, as he must protect Ween. However, he is no match for her, so they decide to escape using magic to cause rubble. Belle knows that Aiz will find them inadvertently. They end up meeting in the same place where he hid Hestia when they were being chased by the monster from Monsterphilia. He leaves Ween in the same place he left Hestia, which is a direct path with the other Xenos. Belle stays to deal with Aiz, starting the fight, but Ween decides not to abandon Belle, as she is tired of being rescued and losing her friends. Belle tries to mediate with Aiz, but she still maintains her previous stance, so he decides to end Belle, but just as Ween manages to get out, showing Aiz that if she is afraid of her, she will remove the things that scare her. So she starts tearing off her nails and wings just to be with Belle, who treated her kindly and saved her. Seeing the firmness of Ween's feelings, Aiz changes her mind as she cannot kill her that way, letting them escape. Lily, Haruhime, and Belle reach the entrance that Asterios indicated to the dispersed Xenos, bidding farewell to Ween and those with her. Finally, everyone manages to reach the entrances of the labyrinth, but Hermes appears to negotiate with the Xenos who are with Fells, who asks that some Xenos sacrifice themselves so that Belle can regain his honor as an adventurer. Additionally, Hestia realizes that Daedalus notes were altered, warning everyone that Hermes is plotting something. Asterios meets Otter, who shows him the way. We realize that Asterios also has dreams, which are about the fight he had with Belle, revealing that he is the reincarnation of the first Minotaur that Belle fought. Groz and some others begin to attack the adventurers and civilians who were secured by the guild. Groz attacks Ina, as Hermes ordered, guided by the bracelet Hermes gave her. Belle defends Ina from the attack. In the distance, Hermes decides to enjoy the show, expecting Belle to be a classic hero who only kills monsters and saves people. However, Belle ruins his plans by deciding not to fight back against the Xenos, and Groz stops when he sees this. But Hermes doesn't give up and wants to drive them crazy. Just then, Asterios appears, ruining everyone's plans and sending Belle flying as he wants to fight against him. Belle finally realizes that this Minotaur is the one he defeated before, thus they begin the battle that ended months ago. The group manages to save Groz and the others amidst the chaos between Belle and Asterios. Belle begins the fight with Asterios, but he is not the same as before, delivering very powerful and fast blows to Belle. To defeat him, Belle must surpass his limits as he did before. By Freya's order, Otter and his other family members are holding off the Loki Familia. Otter throws a sword into the sky from afar. Belle fights as best as he can, even using magic, but his dagger, Ashuakamaru, breaks. Just then, Otter's thrown sword falls into the field and Belle picks it up to have a better weapon. However, Asterios is brutally strong and pushing him, Belle manages to reach the dungeon entrances. Belle tries to counter the attacks with pure agility, but they reach a point of being evenly matched, deciding to end the fight in a single move as they did in the past. This time, Belle will use the Argonaut to match Asterios' strength. They both attack with equal powers, but it is not enough, sending Belle flying. Asterios takes advantage of this by grabbing him in the air and finishing him off, declaring Asterios the winner. The tables are thus turned. Asterios heads to the dungeon and Belle is left lamenting as he wanted to win and not lose. Finally, everyone is safe and things return to normal, but Belle is still lamenting the fact that he lost to Asterios, who returned to the deeper floors to continue training. Aiz arrives where Belle is and he asks her to train him again as he does not want to lose again. Belle is finally at level 4, but he's not happy because the Xenos are still hiding from humans and losing to Asterios affected him. He decides to become stronger to fulfill the Xenos' goal and never lose again. At the guild, an elf and a dwarf start flirting with Ina, but she only considers them friends. Belle receives a letter for the Hestia family about a material collection mission. Everyone is excited since they haven't gone dungeon farming in a while, and Welf has made new equipment for everyone, as the next floors will be tougher. Hestia decides to unite with the gods closest to them. Take, who sends Alka and Chigusa, Maich, who surprisingly sends Daphne and Cassandra, now part of his family, and Hephaestus, who will guard Hestia's house while they're away. Aisha also joins the group. With the group formed, everyone's roles are established, and Lily, still level 1, is left out since advancing too much would risk her life. However, they decide she will act as a strategist, controlling the fight as she seems to have talent for it. Before departing, everyone prepares as best they can. Haruhime learns new magic from a grimoire given by Aisha, Lily learns strategy from Daphne, Welf improves his blacksmith skills, Mikoto refines her martial arts training with Take, and Bell studies the dungeon floors with Ina's help, who seems to be falling for him. Hestia celebrates the expedition with Hephaestus, Maich, and Take, proud that their children are growing stronger and can handle things on their own. The day of the expedition arrives and Cassandra warns Bell that something bad will happen if they continue the mission based on a prophetic dream. However, they decide to proceed. Welf arrives with the weapon Uka requested and gives Bell a new dagger made from a unicorn horn called Hakujin, since Ushiwakamaru was broken in the fight with Asterios. The adventure in the dungeon begins with the blessing of their gods. After a long battle in the dungeon with Bell as the MVP, they'd reach floor 24 and decide to camp and prepare, damaging the surroundings to focus the dungeon's regeneration rather than spawning enemies. They notice Bell is outpacing them, but the group decides to work harder to keep up with him, surprising Aisha as Bell's presence makes everyone want to improve like a hero. As they prepare, Welf explains to Bell that Hestia's dagger transmits magic, but the attack doesn't change much as it can't store magic. It's time to advance to the lower floors, and everyone is alert since these terrains are new to most of them. On the next floor, they encounter the great waterfalls that continue to floor 27, so they must be careful as a fall is deadly. The group decides to only check floor 25, and on the way, Lily explains what they need to collect and the huge equipment expense, emphasizing they need to make a lot of money to cover the costs. However, they are attacked by monsters that jump from the river currents, putting everyone on high alert. They discover rare materials tempting Lily, but since they are on the other side of the river, they send the most agile Mikoto and Bell to retrieve them. On their way back, they are attacked by a monster falling from above, and Mikoto uses the skills she learned from Take, demonstrating her martial arts improvement. Ina is worried about Bell since it's his first expedition to those floors. We also learn that search groups have been sent to those floors because several adventurers are missing. As the expedition is about to end, they find Luvis, the elf we had seen before in the guild, and who had been sent to the lower floors as part of a search group. However, he is severely injured due to a monster that is following him, which is about to attack him. Bell rushes to save Luvis, and they notice that the monster is almost as agile and strong as Bell, and it's an enhanced species of monster that prepares a long-range attack, injuring Chigusa. The monster escapes, and we see that Cassandra's dreams were referring to this. The monster seems to get stronger by consuming stones from other monsters, just like the Xenos. It makes its way towards other injured elves, attacking them. The wounds left by the monster are impossible to heal since it leaves parasitic seeds inside the host, consuming them with roots. Bell can't let them die, so he asks for ideas to save them. Cassandra suggests going outside to find someone more experienced in healing or going to the Dian sect family. Her second idea is to destroy the attacker, as this would eliminate the parasites. Luvis hears what Cassandra says and begs to be destroyed, as his companions are still alive inside, waiting to be saved. Luvis explains that he was the bait for his companions to escape, as the monster hunts adventurers to take their magic stones, confirming that the monster is intelligent and cunning. He also mentions that Dormal, another adventurer from the guild who had been sent to the lower floors as part of a search group, could be attacked without warning by the monster. Finally, most of them decide to go against the monster, starting to hunt it down. However, the monster is very cunning, creating a path that leads them directly to it and the survivors, but with natural traps. They decide to advance with Bell and Aisha against the monster, while the others deal with the normal monsters and take care of the two injured adventurers. But it was all a ruse, with the monster coming out behind the group. Seeing the deception, Bell uses all his speed to retreat and fight the monster, but it doesn't fall. He then uses fire magic, which seems to be a critical hit to the monster, who escapes through the water, dragging Bell with him. Lily rushes to save Bell, but they can't, as jump into the water would be suicide, so they decide to save the injured left by the monster. Aisha takes the lead, clarifying that Bell will be fine and they will only focus on the wounded. With Lily's calm head, she gives the plan to wait at the entrance of the floor until Aisha brings help from the surface, and they will defend themselves until they arrive. On the way, they meet Dormal and his companions, who were also attacked by the monster, joining forces on the way. Bell is safe, but is attacked by the fastest monsters from the lower floors, which cannot be hit. Bell has nowhere to hide, so he decides to face them head-on, surviving the attack. Just then, the siren appears, applauding Bell for his feat, who turns out to be a Xenos named Marie, who is very friendly and even ends up healing Bell by giving him her blood, which is the closest thing to an elixir and one of the most expensive. Additionally, Marie, being an aquatic species, cannot accompany the other Xenos in their nest change. The others advance as best they can and start sharing information about the monster, including that its only weakness is fire, so they equip themselves with magical fire swords. On the other hand, Bell asks Marie to guide him to the monster as he will defeat it. However, she's afraid, so Bell promises her that he will deal with the monster, and there will be no more problems on the floor. Marie guides him to the others. Aisha and the others find themselves at a crossroads, but they start to be surrounded as the monster closes in on them. Seeing themselves surrounded, they have no choice but to fight their way through and escape. The group advances, clearing a path several times, but the monsters never stop. A rare monster appears, which Mikoto deals with, demonstrating a new technique of a single cut, defeating it instantly and continuing to advance. Finally, they reach a closed-off area to fight, but their defense doesn't last long as there is a massive outbreak of species, which is very rare in the dungeon. Aisha decides to use the group's strongest card. Haruhime uses her new magic, which exhausts her physically and magically when used, which allows her to enhance several people depending on how many tails she can create, enhancing Daphne, Welf, Mikoto, Uka, and Aisha, who are at the front, completely changing the battle to survive. However, they realize that the monster was taking advantage of the fights to collect the magic stones from the monsters and eat them, making itself stronger and evolving into something larger. The monster starts fighting Aisha, but its enhancement is comparable to Aisha in her powered-up state. It ends up injuring her, infecting her with the parasitic seed. Welf uses his magical fire sword, as that is its weakness, but it does nothing to the monster as it has become more resistant, also using adventurer equipment, making it even more resistant to fire. With all weapons and abilities used, the situation starts to worsen, but the injured decide to get up and help in the fight, asking them to escape, but Lily refuses, ordering them to fight to the end as no one abandons anyone. Finally, Bell arrives at the right moment with the Argonaut charged, sweeping away all enemies with his magic and sending the monster flying. Bell goes to fight the monster, engaging a brutal fight. Daphne wants help from afar, but Welf and the others tell her they can't do anything as it's a fight beyond their league, and they would only hinder Bell if they got hurt. Bell uses all of his senses to the maximum, realizing that his mind is finally in balance with the power advancement in his body, becoming stronger and faster than before, gradually defeating it. However, the monster has the ability to regenerate, so Bell decides to use a final attack using Hestia's dagger imbued with fire and the Argonaut, calling this attack Argo Vesta. The monster realizes that this attack is dangerous and tries to escape, but Welf blocks its path by freezing all the water around them. Bell launches the attack, destroying the monster with a single blow and killing the parasitic seeds. In the city, there is a meeting among the gods to choose the names of the adventurers who have risen in rank. Welf is named Ignis, and Bell is named Rabbitfoot. On floor 18 of the dungeon, Bell visits the injured, who are all recovering. As a gesture of gratitude, the Hestia family gains the favor of the elves and the dwarves. The next day, on floor 18, there are murders, and the main suspect is Ryu. Meanwhile, Cassandra has another premonition in which everyone will be massacred, and no one can prevent it. However, back to the murder in the city, with Ryu as the main suspect, she starts to be hunted by the adventurers, as her head has been priced since long before for having killed the family that killed hers. Bell and the company gather, mentioning several suspicious points, such as the body being massacred by several stabbings and some guys lying about knowing Ryu, as she fought in the battle with the Goliath, so they should at least know what she looks like. With all these doubts, they don't believe Ryu committed the murder, so they decide to join the hunting group to find her first and get answers. However, Cassandra is affected by her premonition and wants to stop them, but no one backs down, so she decides to follow them to try to change her premonition. During the hunt, they start fighting several monsters as they advance through the floors. Meanwhile, Cassandra asks Welf to make a Goliath cape for Bell, as he is the last one standing in her prophecy. They reach the area of the waterfalls and hear an explosion coming from floor 27, so the group splits into two. One group stays to guard the entrance to the floor, and the other goes to find Ryu. Bell heads with a group that will advance, leaving the others at the door, asking them to investigate a guy named Turk, as he incited the pursuit against Ryu along with others. Bell and the group advance, constantly battling, with Bell sweeping through everyone, surprising the adventurers. However, he hears Marie and rushes ahead to save her from the other adventurers. Lily explains the information she gathered from Turk, who seems to be a recurring adventurer, but still raises many suspicions. Turk advances and starts inciting them to keep going and continue the hunt for Ryu, so the group follows him. Bell finds Marie, who is very happy to see him, and explains that there is a threat on those floors, realizing that the holes in the paths may be the something Marie fears. Bell asks Marie to show him where Ryu is located. Bell finds Ryu interrogating someone, and when she finishes him off, Bell is shocked. Ryu doesn't want to be followed, asking him to leave and not get involved in what she does, but Bell is stubborn and decides to follow her. Aisha is advancing behind Turk and his group, but they start to get annoyed as they don't want to be followed, raising more suspicions about them. Bell ends up meeting the group he had left behind. With several more bodies on the ground, there was a survivor whom Boris examines, revealing that all the attacked are part of evils and are wanted for crimes. Just then, Ryu arrives to finish off the survivor, who tries to be stopped by the adventurers, but nothing stops her from her revenge. Finally, they realize that Ryu did not kill the guy on floor 18 and that she was being framed by the one pretending to be injured. Bell decides to go against the guy named Jura, who turns out to be a tamer, bringing a monster from the deep floors. Reno sends Fells to investigate monsters that are being captured, finding a room full of caged monsters, confirming suspicions that Evils is still working from the shadows. Aisha and the others are threatened by Turk and his men, who also bring a monster from the deep floors, forcing them to escape from the monster. They find a place to fight, so they use Haruhime's magic on Oka and Welf to be at Aisha's combat level and go against the monster. The battle is difficult and long, but the group manages to defeat the monster together. However, Cassandra doesn't feel like this is the end, and she is right. In Belle and Ryu's fight, the monster is very difficult to fight due to its irregular movements, but Ryu has a plan, which is to finish it off with a bombardment of magic. Belle gives her time to prepare her magic, defeating the monster. Belle and Ryu discover that Juro's plan was always to anger the dungeon to call Juggernaut, the same monster that massacred Ryu's family. Juro explains the final detail of his plan, which is to tame Juggernaut. Juggernaut has awakened and begins to hunt, massacring anyone in its path. The adventurers try to escape, but they cannot escape death. Urano senses Juggernaut's appearance and fears that the same massacre that started 5 years ago with Ryu's family will begin again. Boris and his group flee from Juggernaut, encountering Belle and Ryu, who is paralyzed by fear and trauma from fighting Juggernaut in the past. Belle tries to fight him, but Juggernaut is stronger, faster, and more resistant than Belle, immune to magic, and even reflects Belle's magical attack. In a careless moment, Belle loses his arm to a slash and is knocked out on the brink of death. Ryu immediately rushes to heal him. With no one to stop him, Juggernaut massacres the remaining adventurers. Ryu joins the battle after finishing healing Belle, fighting with all she has to save the adventurers, of whom only Boris remains. However, it is not enough, and she is defeated with very serious injuries. During the battle, she realizes that Ryu was the adventurer who fought on the front lines with Goliath. Mary finds Belle inside the nearby lake where the fight with Juggernaut took place, bringing his arm and dagger, completely healing him with her blood and saving him from death. Belle immediately returns to the battle using his Hestia dagger and the cape he obtained from Welf as a shield. Fighting his best, he can be using only melee attacks. Belle has a plan. He sends magic to Juggernaut, intending to have it reflected back to recharge the dagger with Argonaut and the reflected magic, using the Argo Vesta. However, Juggernaut does not fall, and Belle is too tired to continue. Just then, Juro appears and tries to tame Juggernaut, but it is futile, and he is cut in half. Nevertheless, he gives the order to attack, and the monster they defeated earlier appears and attacks them, swallowing them. Both survive, having been inside the monster's stomach, but with brutal injuries. They find themselves on the 37th floor, where even high-ranking adventurers cannot survive, and Juggernaut is hunting them. The others want to help Belle, but Cassandra stops them, fearing that they will all die. However, the boss floor appears early for some reason, forcing everyone to flee. They are caught by the collateral damage of its appearance, and are trapped on the boss floor by the scream and commotion it caused, leaving them no choice but to fight. However, they begin to think that they will not survive, as it is a boss floor and they have never fought one before. Fells is very disturbed, and the dungeon is acting very erratically, to the point where even Urano cannot intervene in the situation. Additionally, Juggernaut has moved floors, which it should not be able to do, as it can only move between the floors where it appeared. Belle does not know what to do. He is injured, Ryu is unconscious and seriously injured, they are on an unfamiliar floor, and there are stronger monsters. All of this begins to overwhelm and suffocate him. Welf calms the situation and boosts everyone's spirits by mentioning that Belle would be very disappointed to know that his comrades died without doing anything, so everyone gets ready to fight. Welf starts the attack by clearing a path for Aisha, who leads the charge, showing everyone how to defeat the boss as she has experience with it. With the attack pattern in mind, Haruhime enhances Welf, Mikoto, Uka, and Daphne, who use their strongest attacks against the boss. In the city, Hestia informs the restaurant about the letter sent by Lily mentioning that Ryu is suspected of murder and asks for help to investigate further. Anya, Chloe, and Lumnoir decide to go. They also ask for help from Tsubaki, a Hephaestus Familia member, who is at Hestia's house. The fight with the boss is intense, and they can't inflict serious damage, but nobody gives up. Lily feels like she can't do anything, but Daphne wakes her up by saying she's thinking of a strategy. Lily decides to join the fight, having Mikoto use her gravity magic to make branches from the ceiling fall on the boss, immobilizing him. Everyone starts attacking, causing damage, but the boss summons monsters that free him, making the fight even more chaotic. Cassandra, on the other hand, has no intention of fighting, as she has given up on life due to the prophecy. However, Daphne arrives and gives her a pep talk, reminding her that even if she doesn't want to live, the others do, and that's why they fight. So she should at least support them, and Cassandra joins the fight, using healing magic on everyone. Belle tries to advance with Ryu, but they are found by Juggernaut. Thanks to Belle's quick reaction, they manage to seal the path and escape danger. Ryu finally wakes up and realizes the situation. They are at their limit, and a monster appears. Belle defeats it by pure luck, but he gets even more serious injuries. Ryu asks him to leave her behind since she's in worse condition, but Belle refuses to abandon her. They decide to find a secluded place to rest. On the 18th floor, the bar girls and Tsubaki ask Luvis and Dormal for information about the situation, heading to the floor where the boss is. The fight with the boss continues and the group does well, resisting and attacking, eliminating the small monsters one by one. However, the boss heads towards the waterfall and jumps from there, causing a tidal wave that breaks their formation and Mikoto disappears. Ryu and Bell slowly progress, finding a room and a light that gives them hope, but it turns out to be adventurers. More monsters appear, but Bell manages to seal the entrance with a magic barrage. He is on the verge of collapse from stress, magic exhaustion, and fear, but Ryu slaps him and calms him down so they can rest. The boss on the floor doesn't let them regroup, launching attacks aimed at Cassandra and Lily, but Haruhime jumps in to rescue them, disappearing in the boss's attack. Aisha witnesses this and attacks with hatred, prompting Oka to do the same. The monsters manage to get through, forcing Ryu to fight and defeat them as best as she can, while Belle wakes up to help her with the last one, standing guard so Ryu can rest. Everyone fights against the boss, no matter the consequences, as they have seen two comrades die. The monster attacks relentlessly, and without Mikoto, they can't anticipate where it will strike next. Luca is sent flying but decides to keep going, realizing Mikoto is alive and preparing an attack. Welf creates a path for Oka. Mikoto uses her grabby magic to enhance Oka's aerial attack, cutting off one of the boss's heads. Haruhime also survives the attack thanks to Goliath's cape and starts using her magic on Aisha, giving her enough power to combine with her sword magic to finally kill the boss. Everyone is alive and happy to have won, but things are not over as they must escape the collapsing floor due to the battle with the boss. Lily decides not to leave as Belle is still inside, and thanks to Cassandra's words, they decide to go after Belle, as he will be their salvation from Cassandra's prophecy. Tsubaki and the others reach the 25th floor, finding no path, so they decide to climb and fly to join the other guys. Aisha and the others advance as best they can on the 26th floor, but they encounter very strong monsters, turning the battle into a constant struggle for survival. They manage to escape, but as they advance, they encounter Boars who survived all this time. He explains the situation, including about Juggernaut, and explains that in Boar's eyes, Belle and Ryu are dead. There's no time to mourn as the monsters are after them. They reach a dead end, and Aisha asks Boars to explain things clearly, giving hope to everyone, as Boars did not see Belle's dead body. Welf, seeing they have no weapons, decides to ask for everyone's help, as he will forge a weapon right in the dungeon, which seems like a crazy plan, but the Hestia Familiade's a family of crazies, so they decide to follow Welf's plan, protecting him while he creates the weapon. Ryu can finally walk, which makes things easier for Belle, but they still don't know what to do or where they are, so they start planning to reach a safe point, being extremely careful. Before advancing, they will have to loot the bodies of the adventurers who died there to get equipment. Belle disagrees with this, but their survival is the most important thing. Among the things they find, they discover a map giving them a path to follow. Welf starts forging, and as expected, the monsters attack the place and everyone defends it as best they can. However, the adamantite mineral he uses is too hard to mold. But in the middle of the forging process, he remembers his family's teachings and why he is a blacksmith, managing to mold the adamantite. Putting all of his effort into it, Welf finally creates the sword, but not just any sword. He creates an unbreakable magical sword that shoots fire and will grow to the same level as its wielder, surpassing his limits as a blacksmith. Ryu and Belle have a difficult path as they are constantly attacked by monsters, but they continue to advance. Along the way, Ryu points out and teaches him everything about the lower floors to increase their chances of survival, as well as giving him advice to be more efficient in battle. Tsubaki and the others continue to advance, realizing there is something to worry about, which is Juggernaut, but they still don't know about him. Belle and Ryu have a peaceful moment after killing a monster that provides them with water. They manage to find clues of the normal path and continue forward. The others reach the 27th floor, with Welf at the forefront with a magical sword, which tires him out a lot, not to mention he has been fighting since before. After a while, they reach the place where the battle with Juggernaut took place but find no bodies. They start searching for clues and conclude that the monsters ate the bodies, just as those monsters appear, starting the battle. There are dozens of monsters hindering their progress, and the group is at their limit, but they are saved by the Xenos, who were alerted by Fells. Tsubaki and the other girls arrive to help fight the monsters at Lily's request. Miria makes a covered appearance to inform the Xenos of Belle's location, then leaves to clear the way. Before leaving, they inform Lily about Belle's location, which is in the deeper floors. Lily informs everyone about the mission to save Belle and Ryu, and although some are reluctant, they are forced to join. Belle and Ryu follow the path they found, encountering enemies as always, which makes Belle improve by leaps and bounds since he is fighting stronger enemies. Ryu is amazed by Belle's constant improvement, but the enemies are endless, so Ryu also has to fight. Not being completely healed, she is defeated by the number of enemies. But Belle arrives in time to defeat them all. As they both advance, they find themselves surrounded by hordes of monsters but manage to escape using bombs. However, they become overconfident and Belle ends up being injured and poisoned. Belle uses Hakugen on the wound, eradicating the poison, as Unicorn Horn is the best remedy for poisons. They advance again and discover the route to the normal path, but to get there, they must pass through the Colosseum, understanding why the dead adventurers they found earlier couldn't advance. The Colosseum is a place where monsters are infinite, making it extremely difficult to overcome, but they have to pass through it to reach the route that will lead them to the exit, which is on the other side of the Colosseum. Ryu devises a plan to try to pass through stealthily using the items dropped by the monsters, giving Belle hope of survival. They enter the Colosseum, where the monsters fight among themselves. They advance slowly and cautiously, but Belle is dragged by a monster, alerting all the others to pursue them. They both flee to the exit, but the enemies keep reappearing, interrupting their escape. They are about to reach it, but they have to separate as the bridge's exit is also full of monsters. Belle, fighting on the bridge, and Ryu, deciding to use her magic to put him on the other side and escape, destroying the bridge so they won't follow her. She stays to fight, but Belle doesn't accept what Ryu did, so he finds a way to cross to save her, defeating everyone with the Firestone powered by Argonaut. In a flashback of Ryu, we see Juggernaut's first appearance, which was a total massacre, killing most of Ryu's comrades. The remaining comrades decide to save her by sacrificing their lives so that Ryu can deliver the final blow to Juggernaut. Ryu launches the final attack with tears in her eyes for her fallen friends, but Juggernaut escapes. After surviving, Ryu begins her path of revenge, killing everyone related to that massacre. But Ryu has not died yet. She's not yet with her comrades. There she meets Sir, who helps her. Belle and Ryu survive the Colosseum, but the explosion leads them to a new hidden path. Belle decides to advance carrying Ryu, but she doesn't want to continue being a burden, believing she deserves to die for her past actions and should not be saved again. Belle doesn't think that way, as Ryu was always saved and helped him on several occasions, just like a heroine would. So Belle is determined to save her no matter what, regardless of her past. However, the moment is ruined when a monster survives the explosion, sending Belle and Ryu flying. Belle is about to be attacked, but it turns out to be a feint, scaring Ryu a lot and pleading with her not to do that again. Finally, they find a safe place with a lake where they rest after the battle. While resting, they have a conversation, and Ryu understands that Belle will not let her die no matter what, so both of them must continue on their journey. Ryu decides to tell Belle about her past, and he encourages her to keep living for her friends, as they would be very angry if Ryu were to die. But then, one of the funniest and most tender scenes between Belle and Ryu occurs, involving skin-to-skin contact. Both prepare to move forward, although they are not sure which way to go, as the place they are in has not been explored by anyone. However, they manage to find an exit, returning to the 37th floor. They finally find the path that will lead them to the exit, but they encounter Juggernaut, who seems to have improved and healed, consuming other monsters and becoming something akin to a chimera. Belle starts the attack and realizes that Juggernaut has become slower, but has absorbed the abilities of the monsters, making him more versatile in battle. Ryu is frozen with fear, but doesn't want to see Belle die and joins the battle. However, her efforts are futile, as Juggernaut has also consumed the floor boss and, with its power, manages to injure Belle, who seals the wound with fire magic, burning himself and incapacitating him. Ryu manages to escape with Belle through a small passageway, but now they are trapped, and it seems that Ryu has accepted her fate to die and is happy to do so in Belle's care. However, Belle is not giving up. He ensures Ryu rests safely, and then prepares to fight Juggernaut. Belle, exhausted and wounded, faces Juggernaut, but Ryu also awakens, accepting that her friends saved her because that's what they decided and it wasn't her fault. She realizes that the only one blaming herself was her, so she joins the battle. Belle gives an excellent fight against Juggernaut, but can't continue like this. Ryu begins to prepare her final blow, as both know the battle must end quickly due to their condition. Belle uses Argonaut to break Juggernaut's shell, but it doesn't work, so he decides to slam it to the ground to counter Juggernaut's attack. Ryu takes advantage of the moment to break one of his legs, clearing the way for Belle, who bombards him with fire magic from the inside, finally breaking his shell. As a final blow, Ryu uses her magic to finally kill Juggernaut. He tries to escape as he did the first time, but Ryu won't let him do it again, chasing him to the end and finishing him off, redeeming herself from her past. Both are so tired from the fight that they collapse unconscious. The Xenos manage to find Belle and Ryu, saving them and giving them first aid, but the other guys are behind, so the Xenos have to leave. The others eventually find them, saving everyone in the process. In the city, everyone is recovering positively. Belle and Ryu form an unbreakable relationship because of the adventure they had. We also find out that Ryu's alias is recognized as dead, so she will no longer be pursued by adventurers. However, it was unnecessary, as Wars explained in detail Ryu's feats and how she was framed, declaring her as an assistant to the needy adventurers, classifying her as a defender of justice. Belle and Ryu decide to meet as they both leave the hospital on the same day, so they go on a literal date. They talk about how Ryu will live her life now and she's already decided, thanking Belle for that, giving us a beautiful and pure smile from Ryu. Belle praises her for the pure smile she made, emphasizing how beautiful it is. Ryu blushes a lot and feels embarrassed by Belle's words, running away from the place. Thanks to this, we realize that Ryu is in love with our protagonist.